from the high desert in the great American Southwest. I bid you all good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever it may be, wherever you are, because we're everywhere. This is Coast to Coast AM, and I'm Art Bell, and tonight it's open lines all the way through. Now, I did solicit ideas from all of you out there about what tonight might be, and we've got about 3 winners in my estimation. I really like this idea. I've never done this before, but to Marianne Ludwig of Palmdale, California writes, "Hey Art, I've got an idea for a topic tonight. How about verifiable predictions for the next 6 weeks," she says, to 90 days. I'm thinking she's so right, but let's hold it to 6 weeks. Predictions the next 6 weeks. Far enough in the future to bring a little anticipation, but soon enough to get some satisfaction and certainly some attention. Here's my prediction. Within 3 weeks, there'll be a major terror attack on a U.S. military installation in Germany in retaliation for the speech that Bush made there yesterday. That's a lot of retaliation. It'll involve, she says, a truck, nuclear waste materials. It'll not be successful as the terrorists intended to be, but some damage will be done. Germans will then realize that Bush was right and will reluctantly rally to fight terrorists within the U.S. Also, she says, Art, did you hear about the man who found a huge footprint in a granite rock near Ramona, California? He was hunting for gold and found the footprint instead. Local Los Angeles News ran a very short piece on it, but there was a shot of the man putting his foot inside the footprint, and it dwarfed his bare foot. I haven't heard or seen anything about it since. Giants. Anyway, I thought her idea was stellar. So, number 1, we will take predictions for something you think will occur in the next 6 weeks. And if I will record your prediction and assign it a number. Now, I don't know how you reach into your inner self, you know more about that than I do, to try and discern something in the very near term. 6 weeks, that's not very much time, is it? So we'll have a chance to see how the audience does in a real short-term blast of predictions, and I thought that would be absolutely fascinating. Right on, Marianne. Then number 2. This comes from S.G. Lee, who would simply like an open line session on encounters with monsters. Now, I'm all for it. So, if you have ever actually, now I don't want to hear about your friend's encounter or your mom's encounter or your dad's encounter. I want first-person monster encounter stories. All right, first person. If it happened to you. If it happened to you and some friends, even better. But if it happened to you, I want a first-person story if you have ever encountered what you would call a monster. And now I've got one more. This is kind of interesting, I think. Let's see, it's Odia, O-D-I-Y-Y-A. I'm not sure how you'd pronounce that. It says, hello, Art. I think that perhaps you ought to have a special line, open line, for people who have had sexual encounters with demons, spirits, or aliens. A few years ago when I was in college, I remember being awakened by a feeling of having someone lying down next to me. At first, nothing but terror, and I hesitated to look over my shoulder. However, after a few minutes, I decided to confront the being or whatever it was next to me in my bed. Oh, my God. When I turned, I saw nothing there, yet there was a depression on the bed where the body should have been. At this point, I felt a hand gently touch and caress my face, and I froze in absolute panic, couldn't move. I tried to run and scream, but I could do neither. It was then that some kind of force pushed me down on my bed and proceeded to remove my underwear and have sex with me. Technically, this was rape. Although I never saw it as such until recently, I don't feel I was raped. I don't really know what to think of the experience. I'd be interested in knowing how many other people have had similar experiences. And for the record, I never use drugs, alcohol, nor any mind-altering substances. I'm a highly reliable and trustworthy person. Now, I think that I would like to ask, I understand this is way out on a limb. However, I think it's a reasonable question to ask, in fact, a very reasonable question to ask for two reasons. Number one, anybody involved in law enforcement will quickly tell you that the number of sexual assaults, rapes, in the real world that are reported are very, very low. Women, for some reason, obviously, the obvious reason, embarrassment and shame and all those things, they don't report sexual assaults. That's number one. I mean, they just don't. Only a tiny percentage get reported. But then there's even a more compelling reason, in my estimation. If you talk to anybody who is a researcher into abductions, they will tell you that of those cases that they have reviewed, a very high percentage involve sexual misconduct on the part of the intruder. So it's kind of a double whammy. Number one, even in the real world, they don't get reported. And certainly in the world of abductions, the odds that somebody would report something like this, pretty remote, I would say. Wouldn't you? And so I thought, it's a very edgy kind of question to ask this audience, but I thought I would anyway. I wonder how many women out there have had sexual experiences with the unknown, a demon, a force, an alien. Who knows? Really, in the end, we assign names to these things, aliens or demons or spirits or ghosts. We assign names and words to these entities, right? Based probably on our own perceptions, unless we have some little green guy who points to a particular star and says, that's where I'm from. Otherwise, an encounter of this sort really can only be told. You're not necessarily going to know who your assailant was. But I thought I would ask the question, see if anybody bravely would like to step forward and talk about that. I know it's a high percentage item on the list of things that occur to people in abductions and these kinds of encounters. It's just that people don't talk about it. Well, we will hear. All right, this is interesting. We had a power situation earlier today at the house, so let me get my thunder in order here, and then we'll look around the world a little bit, and then we'll review what we're going to talk about in open lines one more quick time, and then we'll do it. A quick look around at the world's news. It's Memorial Day weekend, and so they're saying it's going to be the biggest travel weekend of the entire year, which is interesting. They're also saying people are going to be traveling in cars and RVs and trucks and vehicles, and they're not going to be flying. One effect of 9/11 that remains with us and may for some time is that people are doing a lot less recreational flying. Now, certainly business flying and needful flying, if you have to go to a wedding or a funeral or something, it's on the other side of the country. No choice, you've got to fly, right? But I think there's a dividing line there, and short of people who must fly for some compelling personal reason, and business people that must fly, recreational flying, just let's get on a plane and go down to Mazatlan or something like that. That kind of flying, there's not a lot of it going on, and of course the airlines are suffering because of that, and that's all because of 9/11 and all the new security, and that's not really I don't see how that's going to change. I just don't see. Do you? Oh my, what's going on with the FBI? An FBI whistleblower alleges FBI headquarters rewrote Minnesota agents' pre-September 11 request for surveillance and search warrants for terrorism defendant Zacharias Missouri and removed important information before rejecting them. Agent Colleen Rowley wrote that the Minnesota agents became so frustrated by roadblocks erected by terrorism supervisors in Washington that they began to joke that FBI headquarters was becoming an unwitting accomplice to Osama bin Laden's efforts to attack the U.S. Oh, my God. That is real heat. That's real heat. Woof. We're going to have to watch that story very carefully. The Justice Department said Friday it's going to fight a judge's ruling that banned the department from interfering in any way with an Oregon law that allows doctors to help terminally ill people kill themselves. So this one's going to stay in court. President Bush with Putin, and they're having nuclear discussions, and it looks like they've cut a deal. And that's a good thing. We can certainly afford fewer nukes. No question about that. Many fewer nukes, so anything they can do there is really good. Now, potentially reaching out to spoil the agreement as they, before the ink gets dry, is the fact that Russia continues to deal nuclear stuff to Iran. And, we've said to them, keep selling it to Iran. Pretty dumb. You're going to see some of what you have been selling to them aimed at you. There are ongoing discussions about what's going to happen if the U.S. is attacked again by some a weapon of mass terror, biological, chemical, nuclear, whatever. I'm sure there's some very quiet conversations going on between the two, and I'll bet you President Bush is telling Putin, look, you and your country had better be prepared for the possibility of the use of tactical nuclear weapons. And we had better come to some sort of understanding that it doesn't turn into World War III if this should occur. And I bet a large amount of money that conversation is going on. Well, now here's one for you. This morning on Paul Harvey, May 24th's broadcast, Paul Harvey was, I think, the first to report a story now flashing around the world. Apparently, Scotland Yard was truly confounded this morning. Outside the Paradise Bar in South London, a bouncer was found stabbed to death, lying in a pool of blood. Scotland Yard swabbed the blood and extracted DNA from it, and the DNA was not human. Maybe the blood is animal blood, which is the, it's what they're going to look at right now. I guess they're going to have to send it off. The Yard's lab is not equipped to analyze such thing. Blood samples are being sent to the veterinary genetics lab at the University of California. But let's think about this for a second. A bouncer, probably a big guy, is lying dead in a pool, stabbed to death in a pool of his own blood, but the blood is not human. So I wonder what we're facing there. And then somebody writes, Art, a serial killer was involved in Levy's death, Chandra Levy, and one of his victims was, in fact, found in the Potomac River. It was on Extra TV tonight. Well, I don't know about that. Now, the prediction was specifically to Chandra Levy's body, right? However, I would not say that Ed Dames has missed anything yet, because even the police chief of Washington, D.C., was dumbfounded that they had not found the body earlier, and he said, look, one of the reasons is because it might not have been there. So I'd still keep this in a really open box. And then I got so many of these, Art, crazy even for here. It's noon today and snowing in Denver, 30 degrees. Somebody else in Colorado says, burning. Art, we agree. The sun feels different. Now, this was from last night. I've always spent a lot of time in the sun. I have dark skin and tan darkly. I've never had much problem with sunburns. We live in Colorado, and the atmosphere is thin, of course. But the other day, I was running my dog, and I tell you, the sun felt like it was searing my skin. I know it's not my imagination. I also constantly have this feeling that things are becoming sterile. I don't know how to explain it. My customers have often said the sun just feels more intense. Or this. Art, I thought I was losing my mind or succumbing to paranoia until I heard you last night talking about the strangeness of the sun. For about a year, I've had the feeling that the sun, even here in the middle of Manhattan, feels odd, too big, too white, too hot, and frankly, in the wrong place. I don't know any other way to describe it. Even sunglasses do not offer enough protection on many days now. I found myself shielding my eyes, crossing the street to get into the shade. The sun literally seems to be too low in the sky. There are days when one can hardly see if one is walking into the sun, so to speak. Fascinated and just a little bit disturbed. And then this, Art, I'm a painter of watercolors. The light and the quality of the light are what I notice. It's what painters key into: light, shadow. I, too, have noticed the sun is more white and less yellow. The light striking the skin is more penetrating. Sometimes it feels just like needles. I've also noticed the sun penetrates and heats up my mattress, even though the outside ambient temperature is not that high. I've been wondering for a while and what's going on, and I just can't help remembering what Ed Dames said about the sun. And I thought right on and on and on and on. It just goes, here's another one. I'm a photographer and extremely aware of light variations. Thank you for bringing up the changing light of the sun and for all the good work you do. You're very welcome. So a landslide of emails, people agreeing that the nature, the color, the feel, the intensity of the sun is changing. All right. We'll break here at the bottom of the hour, and I'll briefly touch on what we're going to talk about tonight, if you wish. To remind you, going into tonight, and you can use any line. I don't have any special line set up for all of this, so you can roaring in on any line you want. It's open lines, but we have 3 suggestions with regard to what might be discussed tonight. One would be a monster encounter discussion. Any of you have had encounters with what you would call a monster? Well, that was a pretty good one, actually. And then this is awfully good, and that's anybody who wants to really stick their psychic neck out, and we'll take a prediction for you and number it, and it'll be for the next 6 weeks. Something major you think is going to occur in the world in the next 6 weeks. And then the real touchy one, pardon the unintended pun, but sexual encounters with demons or with entities. I don't know, aliens, demons, there's so many names, ghosts, whatever names we assign to these things that seem to be. Many, many sexual encounters. Anybody wanting to step forward, anonymously, of course, on this program. So that's what we're about this night. All right, into the unknown of the night we plunge. Now, with regard to the predictions for the next 6 weeks, I think some misunderstood. This is not just if you want to make it a prediction about terrorism, fine, but I was not asking specifically for that. I want to be clear. If you want to stick your psychic neck out and make a prediction about any large event that's going to occur, this is on everybody's mind, right? But it doesn't have to be about that specifically at all. Any big event. As something you think will come true in the next 6 weeks, then I'll record it, and we'll find out short term how good you all are. Now, don't just throw something into the wind. In other words, if you have a strong psychic sense that this event is going to occur, then pick up the telephone line. Don't just call to hear your voice on the air. We really want to get some predictions down that have a really good chance of coming true. And the best way to do that is to ask you not to be frivolous, not to frivolously make any prediction, but to think it through and to somehow, with some sort of knowing, that's what it's all about, right? Recite your prediction. So there you are. With that in mind, here's where we begin. First time caller line, you are on the air.
Good morning, Art.
Good morning, sir.
Hi. Geez, what a night. Anyway, I was going to tell you that it's Bob from L.A., but in here in Encino, you remember the vice president was stating that first of all, let me start out that everybody was screaming at Bush stating that he dropped the ball, so now they're telling us everything, And what the vice president stated is that we may have some attacks on America and here and there, and he said apartment buildings blowing up.
Yes.
Well, right after he said that, today here, we're in my neighborhood, here in L.A. in the Valley, and one blew up.
A gigantic explosion, and they're suggesting that it perhaps was a natural gas explosion.
Yeah, not at all.
That's like saying, sir, that when something falls from our atmosphere, it is a meteorite. They don't have the slightest damn idea at this point.
Right. I have a ham radio. I'm a ham radio operator, and I listen to all their frequencies. I listen to the fire department, okay? And what's sort of funny is James Hahn was there, okay? Our mayor. Well, what's he doing at a fire, okay? And it's funny. He's telling the media, it's a gas leak, and then they're talking to the fire chief, and they're going, we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
How does he know it's a fire leak? And they don't know what it is, and the FBI is there, and they're telling,
they don't know yet. They don't know. And it could be terrorism. Who the hell knows at this point?
Right. You know what's happening right now is that it's really crazy. I've been watching, it may sound odd, but I know where a few people from the Palestinian nation are, where they hang out here in the valley.
Yeah.
I've been watching these people and following them really close, standing next to them. And what he said about all these terrorist attacks, like people blowing up malls and stuff like that, it's giving these people ideas. And I think these people, I've watched a few of them, and it may sound crazy. These people, I've been hired by private investigative agencies for workman's comp work and stuff, so I'm really good at being invisible, like when your shows were. And I stand right behind these people. I follow them around to libraries or wherever they go. And one person I'm really scared that may be going to do something. It's a female.
Well, then listen, sir, if you really believe that, then you need to go to the FBI right away.
Yeah, but you know what? It's really crazy. These people, the ones that I've been watching, they're not crazy. They're actually depressed. I've seen some of these people actually talking, and they're like crying. These people, I don't know what's wrong with these people. There's something missing out of this puzzle because these people.
Well, I do, sir. Listen, what it is that if you were a Palestinian. If you were of Arab extraction in America right now, you wouldn't be having much of an easy time of it, would you? I mean, you really wouldn't have an easy time of it at all. You'd be watched. People would stare at you. Everybody would be uneasy around you. And everybody has got to remember that most of the people of these various, of Arab extraction specifically, are fine people and do not wish us dead. You've got to delineate between the average population of the Arab world and the fanatics. And I'm not suggesting they are few in number. There are many fanatics who want us dead, D-E-A-D, dead. And so to delineate between the two is impossible for some people, and so a lot of very innocent people are suffering here in America. So if you're wondering what's wrong with them, you don't have to wonder very long. That's it. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hi, is that me?
That would be you.
Yay, this is so cool. I've been listening to you forever. I have a monster story.
Oh, you do? Where are you?
Yeah. I'm actually at a rest stop in Arkansas. My husband and I drive truck, and I'm the night driver.
That must be kind of cool. Two of you getting to... yeah, that's kind of neat. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm sitting under the moon right here, which I'm thinking it's just like the same night that I'm talking about. This is about 9 years ago. California. I like to walk around in the woods a lot by myself, and I was playing a little flute, and I was singing along, and I'm out there for a couple hours a night. I exercise. And I sat on a ridge, and it's kind of a horseshoe ridge. I'm on the highest part of the ridge. And across the ridge, I'm just sitting there looking. Well, I'm sorry, back up just slightly. I look about halfway around this horseshoe, and there's someone coming up over the ridge. So I'm thinking, oh, it's somebody that I know.
You saw them, or you heard them, or what?
I see a flashlight coming up over the ridge.
Gotcha.
So I think it must be someone I know. So I'm getting up from where I'm sitting, and something in me told me, flatten. So I sat back down on the ground as fast as I could, and I looked across the ridge. Now,
that's a really ancient sense that we have. Something tells you you're being stalked. The word is stalked, and you know it, and the hair on the back of your neck stands up, and you know it's time to hit the dirt. Right on.
Yeah.
Yep.
All my instincts are going, oh.
Yep.
So I'm looking across the ridge. Now, this is past the person who's walking up over the ridge. This is on the opposite side of the horseshoe. I look over into the trees, and it's a bunch of California scrub oak, and those are really reflective on the moonlight. I'm sitting kind of above them. And I see this shadow, darkness, come up out of the trees. And it's such a soft movement that I'm not even thinking anything, right? I'm just watching this, and what I'm seeing is wings, and this thing must have been easily 10 feet tall. It was huge. The wings were almost as long as his body was on this thing.
Sounds like Mothman.
Well, yeah. At first I thought it was a demon, and then I heard you guys talking about shadow people, so I thought it was that. And then I heard Mothman.
Excuse me, have you seen the photograph on my website?
No, I haven't.
Okay, it's a 9/11 photograph.
Okay.
And it shows this. It's a pterodactyl that is near a building, and it's absolutely monstrous. It occurs and was photographed during the 9/11 event, and it looks exactly like what you're talking about.
Oh, so creepy. So I'm watching this thing, and it goes. The movement is so soft. It's not using its wings to fly. It's almost like they're being used to direct it.
Yes.
And it slowly lifts up in the air, like I said, comes back down, and it does this twice before it gets to the person. Again, this person is about halfway between me and this thing.
Yes.
And as it lands next to the person with the flashlight, who has been aiming its beam on the ground, the beam of the flashlight, suddenly the flashlight comes up, and this person is whipping around. Like its flashlight is trying to find whatever it thinks is, I'm speculating this person is feeling this thing, because this thing does like 8 little, again, touches the ground, lifts up, goes in a circle around this person. I'm watching it tease this person, and this person is whirling in a circle, trying to see whatever it is.
So you're watching an attack.
Kind of. It didn't do anything to the person except
maybe it was waiting for them to fall down dead of fright, you know.
And I'm watching it, and this person suddenly throws the flashlight and just runs down the back of the hill. They were so scared that they even threw the flashlight and just ran down this hill. Well, I'm thinking, okay, and it slowly lifts off the ground as the person leaves, and it's aiming towards me.
Oh, my God.
All I can think is I shut my eyes, and I just kept saying, I am a blade of grass. I am invisible. I am a blade of grass. I am invisible. And it made about the first touchdown about halfway to me, and I'm squeaking my eyes open every once in a while, and I just started thinking of the music that I had been playing earlier. I was having a really good time and just thinking positive thoughts. I am invisible. I am a blade of grass. Everything's happy. And it turned about halfway. It was in the air, and it just kind of floated back to where it originally started.
Lucky girl.
And I just ran down the hill as fast as the other guy did.
That sounds like Mothman. It sounds like Mothman. Now,
yeah.
We'll let the audience digest this one and see what they think, but sounds to me like you're lucky to be alive.
I was wondering, after I heard the Mothman show, the one thing I was really glad of. At first I thought, after it happened and it was all done, I thought, oh, the energy coming off of it was so sad. It was so old. It was so, it was like if you met somebody like feeling those things, you would go over and put an arm around them. Oh. But then I heard you show on the Mothman and the red eyes and how people get paralyzed.
That's right.
And I was After I heard that show, I was so glad that I just shut my eyes and did not wait for it to come to me.
Yeah, there's actually two things that occur. Thank you for the call.
Oh, thank you.
The first is there is a mortal moment, and hunters will tell you, because they know, there's an instant, or sometimes more than an instant, that we share this with animals. To some degree now. In human beings, it's largely blotted out by contemporary environment and experience and all the rest of it, but it is not gone. It's in us as much as it's in animals. The animals just pay attention to it. We don't. There's this mortal moment when you know, even though you may not know what it is that's about, a predator is after you and you can feel it. And it may occur an instant before death or a minute before death. Animals know it when a hunter's got a bead on them. They just know it for an instant before that bullet goes. Animals that are being stalked by others suddenly know it, frequently too late. But there is that mortal instant. And that's certainly what she experienced when it was hit the dirt time. And then, of course, she perhaps saved her own life by thinking as she did and virtually making herself invisible. What a program last night, huh? East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Yes, hi. My name's Mark, and I'm calling from Bradley, Illinois, and I'm listening to you through 890 AM, WLS in Chicago.
Ah, the big monster in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yes.
You may not remember it, but I talked to you back on Halloween last year.
Really?
Yeah, Halloween
must
2001.
Must have been a ghost-to-ghost show.
Yeah, it was the story about the place up in Michigan, and it was the first full moon that we had on Halloween in 55 years.
Yes.
Yeah, you might remember it. Anyway, I wanted to express my deepest concerns about the prediction that Sean David Morton made on the April 11th and April 12th show.
And that would be?
He predicted that a red mercury bomb device.
That's right.
Would be used, and I pray to God that does not happen.
Yeah, those are good things to pray for.
Right. I also just wanted to predict maybe the Lakers will win it in 7 games. I don't know. But I wanted to ask you one really quick question.
I'm putting down Lakers in 7.
7 games, they'll win the 7th game by 4 points. I don't know. But
yeah.
I wanted to ask one really quick question. Are you accepting what they call snail mail still? I wanted to send you some music that reminds me of some of the really good music of the 60s.
No, not yet, sir. I tell you what, we're trying to figure out what to do, and we may route it through our Oregon office, but the more I think about that, the more I don't want to subject them to the same danger that I'm trying to avoid myself. So we just don't have it worked out yet. All I can say is we live in damn dangerous times, and we don't have it figured out yet. I'm sorry. Okay? Thank you very much. Sorry, I wish I could give you some address. There will come a time, I hope and I pray, oh God, I hope so. But you have to understand that as a national talk show host, people in the media are natural targets. I mean, that's already been proven. And somehow I don't think we're done with this. Like, I kind of thought we were done with it, and then they hit the IMF and the World Bank building, and I don't know. I can smell something out there that's going to happen. I don't know what, but I can smell it. And so we're hesitant, obviously, to accept that kind of mail. Moreover, my wife, Ramona, was the one who opened mail for me, and then would sort of bring to my attention, some sort of screening process, bring to my attention what seemed important. And so I'm not about to risk her life, certainly. And now that I think about it, I could give the Oregon address, and then they would be exposed to that danger, too. So not for the moment, and we haven't got it figured out yet. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Am I?
You're on.
Okay. I'm Matt, calling from Auberry, California.
Okay.
You're Fresno. You're on KMJ in Fresno.
Indeed we are.
Okay. I want to make a quick prediction, then I want to ask you a question.
All right.
Sarah Fisher will win the Indy 500.
Sarah Fisher?
She's qualified Row 3, the 9th position.
Okay, wins Indy. Got it. You're number 2, by the way.
Okay.
All right.
I referred you a while back to a book about UFOs going into and out of the water called Invisible Residence.
Oh, yes.
By the late Ivan T. Sanderson. Have you been able to find it?
No.
Okay, if you can't physically get to a used bookstore, although Vegas should have its share, try Amazon.com. They have a used book searcher. You just type in the title, and they should be able to find it for you. And when you get it, you'll find some very interesting things.
All right. Well, I'll tell you a story. I had an incredible caller. It was during some open line session weeks ago. I am so ashamed to say, I have so much paperwork here. And this man told a story about being in the military and recovering a craft from the ocean floor. And it was an incredibly credible, fascinating, riveting story. And I put the man on hold and took his contact number, and I turned this place upside down looking for it. I lost the damn thing. I wanted to call the man back, and so if you're out there, please get in touch with me again and give me a phone number again. I am so sorry. It somehow got caught in the blizzard of paperwork around here, and no doubt you made it to the trash. I mean, I went outside and I looked in trash cans. I did everything I could, and that thing just flat disappeared. But I had his number. He had given me his name and number, and I was going to follow up and do a whole show with this guy. It was an unbelievable story about what he recovered at the bottom of the sea. And I go and lose the number. Unblinking believable. So if you're out there, send me that number again, sir, and we'll get you on the air. Undersea stuff? Oh, yes, we've heard about it here. Friday night, Saturday morning, here we go again. Open lines all the way. Wild, make that first-time caller line. You're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art.
Hi.
My name is Terry, and I've been listening to you on 1240 AM up in Susanville, California.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyway, I've tried for several months to get through to you, and I know I've just recently emailed you, and I haven't heard back from you yet, but I'm the educated 40-year-old mother of 2.
Yes.
I've had some terrifying experiences, memories that I choose. I just can't believe I've gotten through.
Well, you have. So just sort of take a deep breath and tell me what you mean.
I will. Because I believe in you, and I don't know who else to turn to. I have 2 things. One is I was introduced to a nurse in Reno, and I spoke to her one evening, and she told me of a doctor that could help me, that could possibly help me. And she spoke to him that evening, and I remember this, that he did not want to speak to me over the phone, that he wanted me to call the following morning at his office.
What are we talking about here?
First was, okay, I'm sorry. The first one would be of someone who's worked for the government for over 10 years at Area 51.
You know somebody?
Wait till I finish the story, Art. You're not going to believe what happened to me.
I'm trying to get the story.
I realize.
You know somebody who works at Area 51?
Well, I don't know him very well. I am trying to hide at this point.
Why?
And keep a low profile because I've had mental health and the police at my door. They were wanting to take me away.
Why?
Because of my experiences.
What experience? Hold it. Slow down. What experiences?
The video footage that I have and the memories that I have. What I've seen.
Hold it. Slow down.
Okay.
What video footage?
I have video footage of someone being brought back through a closed window, and they were not in solid form. And I need to get this to you. I need an address as well before we hang up. I need an address.
No, we do not. We're not accepting mail like that. Here's what you've got to do.
Oh.
You listen to me very carefully, all right? Find a friend who owns a computer.
Oh, yes.
That shouldn't be real hard.
No.
And most anybody who's even a good quarter of a geek, let's say, knows how to turn video into a video file very quickly.
All right.
And they can be sent to me that way at my email address, which is artbell@mindspring.com.
Yes.
Okay?
That one I know. Okay,
right.
No, that's what I will do then. I didn't realize.
That's the way you can do it.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I thought I could just send it in the mail.
All right, now you've had UFO experiences as well.
Oh, yes. some of the video footage that I have, well, it's exciting, and you'll truly want to see it. And
okay.
So anyway, but some of the encounters and some of the memories I've had of being taken, like I say, I'm not a nutcase, and this is very real.
Are any of these sexual in nature?
No, they're not.
Okay, all right.
But what happened with the doctor? He told her that he did not want to speak to me on the phone.
That he wanted you to come. Yeah.
So anyway, and knowing that he worked for Area 51 for over 10 years, I knew not to call him Art. I knew it.
Then why'd you call him?
Because it was a moment in my life that I wasn't in control.
All right, so I think I see where this is going. So in other words, you went to this doctor, and all this trouble with people coming after you came after that, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, I've got
it. And the things he told me.
Like what?
How that I was paranoid, delusional, psychosis that I was experiencing. But I said, now wait a minute, now you're telling me that, you don't believe? He goes, no, he said, I believe. He said, but what you're seeing is of this world. He says, it's not real. It's not alien. And I'm going, wait a minute.
Did you mention the videotape evidence to him?
Yes, I did.
And what did he say?
He goes, well, what you're seeing. And I said, wait a minute, I have friends that have come over and have watched these tapes. And, they know what they're seeing.
All right, all right, then here's the deal. Listen to me. Just please send the videotapes to me, and that will end that. What I will do is take what you send, and I will post it on my website. If what you send is as you say, with somebody, for example, being dragged through a window in a half-formed state, then trust me when I tell you, we will have no problem believing you at all. And I guess she went to the wrong person. Going to a doctor who was up at Area 51 for that many years might not be the best thing for somebody to do. So you made a big mistake there. At any rate, send the evidence. Evidence is really good. Video evidence is, in fact, really, really good. I realize that anything can be faked these days. Nevertheless, video evidence, in my mind, is high on the scale. So get it to me. We'll get it up. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hi. This is Bobo.
Yes, Bobo.
Yes. I'm an amateur radio operator, and I travel with a circus.
You travel with a circus?
Yes, that's correct.
Really? What circus?
Circus Vargas.
I know Circus Vargas very well. As a matter of fact, I once got on the back of a motorcycle, Circus Vargas, when it came to, where was it?
Las Vegas has the Shriners.
No. I think it was in Central California somewhere. Anyway, I got to ride behind this guy all the way to the top of the big top, and then back down backwards on a motorcycle. I was out of my mind.
I never heard that.
Yeah, I got to do that. It was cool.
Oh. Well, I never experienced that. Well, I've been with them about 3 years.
It's like being on a rocket ship, sir.
As a matter of fact, I go to bed with you here every night, just about. And at the winter quarters in Lucerne Valley, you're just about the only company I have in the evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, Lucerne Valley is beautiful, but it's very, very lonely. Anyways, I've been out of amateur radio for quite a few years, and I'm just now getting back into it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to the Redondo Beach TRW swap meet tomorrow morning.
Along with about a million other hams.
Yeah, to do a little shopping, see what I could come up with.
Good for you.
And I'm going to try and set myself up with a little, as a Wicked DX contact. I'll be on the air like an hour every evening from the end of show to lights out. And I'm going to, from all over the state of California, different locations.
Oh, I'm sure. Tell me something. What's it like working for a circus?
Well, it's a traveling show. It's show business.
Yeah.
The talent and the management are all former talent. They're all multi-generational. Everybody intermarries. You have people.
I was going to say it's a really, really tight group, and you're telling me it's even tighter than I imagine, huh?
An anthropologist would have a field day. I mean, the South American tribes have nothing on circus.
I hear you. How long have you been doing this now?
Well, this is my third season, and this is my last season, too. They're going to train me to drive a commercial truck. so I'll be able to leave and make a decent living somewhere else. But I hooked up with the circus because I was getting my theater degree.
Well, that's an experience you'll never forget for the rest of your life.
I'll tell you something. It's an experience. I'm in the lower management. I'm the chief usher.
Okay.
And I'm eye-level management, and I want to tell you something. I've had some management experience before, but this is quite an experience.
I'm sure it is.
But showtime, you get ready for the show, and it's exciting. I tell the superintendent we are ready to receive the public, and it's just a thrill.
It's got to be. Yeah, that's an awesome job. That's one big life experience. Cool.
It's a rush.
All right. Listen.
It makes it all worthwhile.
Listen, I got a scoop, but thank you very much. And I'll look for you. I'll look for you on the air somewhere, huh?
Probably 75, 80 meters or 40 meters.
All right. Maybe they'll let you run a big wire up to the top of the big top. Run a thin little wire that they can hardly see, and you'll get out like a bandit. That would be a pretty cool job, working for the circus. And I know it is an extremely tight-knit group. Circuses are really interesting, really, really interesting. And everybody always talks about running away and joining the circus. Well, there are some people that really do that. They run away and they join the circus, and that is it. Usually that's the rest of their life. It's a kind of thing that you're in and you don't leave. In fact, we should interview some circus people, like that man or somebody involved actually in the act part of it. It's wild stuff. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning. Hello. Going once.
Hello?
Yes, hello. There you are.
Yeah, east of the Rockies.
Yes.
Yes, this is Jim in Falls Church, Virginia.
Yes, Jim.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing the second Renaissance to us. I'm calling with a prediction, and part of this you could...
Something that you think will occur within 6 weeks, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just blurt it out. What is it?
Okay. Well, Antarctica is covered by about 4 or 5 miles of ice in thickness, and Lisa Moulton Howe will back up some of this.
Linda Moulton Howe.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, that would be the Ross Ice Shelf mainly.
But anyway, with all of this ice breaking off, there's so much ice on this continent that the mountains that are 19,000 feet, the continent is depressed by the ice, and if there was no ice, the mountains would be higher than the Himalayas. All
right. Well, anyway, so what is your prediction, sir?
That there's going, with this ice breaking off, that there's going to be an earthquake that's going to be about as close to a 10 as possible.
Where?
In Antarctica.
Okay.
And with these some of these mountain ranges going up from 17 to 19,000 feet to pushing up towards as high as the Himalayas.
All right, I think I've got it. There'll be that's a very interesting prediction. Now, you know what? I don't know a whole lot about the geology of the Antarctic. Do you? Other than, as he pointed out, there's a lot of ice there. But if they had something that approached a 10 magnitude at the Antarctic, everything could potentially break apart down there. Boy, talk about an instantly catastrophic event. Now, there's one to look at for 6 weeks. That would be catastrophic, all right. Most of the ice probably of the continent with the 10 would slide into the water. World water levels, like, a big fat guy jumping into the bathtub. Well, that's the effect. You get the idea. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, it's me.
It's you. Yes. Where are you?
I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Portland. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to give my name.
That's fine.
You don't mind?
No, I don't mind.
This one has to rape.
Oh, rape.
Yes. It's called what? And I don't know if you know the term phantom rape.
Phantom rape. Well, I know only, what I've read. For example, I read from a young lady earlier tonight the story that got all of this started. And I thought, that it's a really rough subject to tackle on a, nationwide open line show. But number one, rapes aren't reported even when they're out in the real world. Number two, phantom rapes. What's the likelihood of those being reported? And yet, abduction, people who study abduction say the incidence of sexual encounter is gigantic, but they don't talk about it.
Well, I experienced phantom rape when I was like in my early 20s. And it was a really strange experience.
How old are you now?
I'm 45 now.
45, so
but I can remember
20s.
it like it was yesterday. I've never forgotten.
Then remember it for us.
I was laying in my hide-a-bed in my front room, and I was there by myself, and I was kind of sleeping, and I heard a noise that sounded like my boyfriend was in the back room, but I'd known he'd already went to work, but I could still hear somebody in the back room, and I sat up and I called his name.
So there was supposed to be nobody in the house?
Oh, it was just me. I was the only one there.
Okay.
Everybody else was
So
gone.
obviously you would call his name.
Right, so I called his name thinking, well, maybe he came back and I was asleep.
Sure.
And nobody answered, so I got out of the bed, and I went into the room and looked, and no one was there. So I went back into the bed again, started to kind of sleep again, but I was still awake, and I heard the noise again, and I said his name, and I said, this isn't funny.
Yeah, right. That'd be right.
And then I went back in again just to double check one of the other rooms, because there were like 2 bedrooms, and no one was in there. I went back, laid back down, and I heard a noise it sounded like a pair of man's boots going into my kitchen, coming out of the room and going into the kitchen. And then I heard pots and pans clanging. And I said, I know you're here. And I said his name, and I got up and I walked in the kitchen, and there was nobody there. So I went back and I laid on my bed again, and a couple of minutes later I heard the boots coming out of the kitchen, the sound of the boots. And I opened my eyes and I looked up and I saw it was just a shadow is all it was, of a figure of a man.
A shadow.
And I knew it was a man. I knew it was a man.
Right.
But there was no face, no nothing. It was just, it was the build of a man, like, the spirit of a man.
Yes.
And it held me down and I could not move. And it came at my face like it was going to kiss me. And a gush of air went into my mouth and filled my whole body and my face like I was blowing air. And then it went away.
Oh my God. And then it went away.
And then that was it. That was the end of it. My whole body filled with air and my mouth filled with air like when you blow.
Yeah.
And my whole body expanded and then it went away and then I was normal and I sat up and started crying because I was so scared. And I called my boyfriend and told him what had happened.
What did he say?
He thought I was asleep. I was making it. He said, oh, you're just imagining things. And I said, I did not.
Is there any question in your mind at all about whether or not you imagined it, even after all these years? No question.
I got up too many times and got up too many times to check these different rooms and got back into the bed, and I know what I felt.
I cannot
I know
tell
something
you.
held me there, and I know that air filled my body, and I have never forgotten that to this day, and I've told maybe 2 or 3 people about it, and that's it.
Well, I sure appreciate your telling us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And good night. There's going to be a lot of that tonight, I have this feeling. If people can get the cojones up, or whatever it takes, there's going to be a lot of that. And we're ready.
This is Premier Networks. That was Art Bell hosting Coast to Coast AM on this Somewhere in Time.
All right, let's rock back into the night, shall we? First time caller line, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Well, I have a prediction for you.
Do you now? Something that will occur within the next 6 weeks?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to assign a number to it, which is number 4. What's your prediction?
That bulge on the west side of Mount Rainier is going to go.
Oh, my. Really?
Kiss Seattle goodbye.
That would be a real problem. And there is a bulge there, isn't there?
Yes, and they've had the glacier up on the mountain.
I wonder how much actual warning they would get, if any.
Well, twice in the past 8 months, they've been under 90-day warning.
Really?
That she could go anytime in the next 90 days.
God, living near something like that would be freaky, wouldn't it?
I used to live in Tacoma.
You did then, so you know. Yeah, that would be it's the closest thing on Earth to a nuclear detonation that we have without having one.
Well, see,
actually, it's probably more powerful even.
But the way the jet stream comes across there, it'll pull the ash across the United States.
It certainly will. Well, actually, it might be second time around. The jet stream certainly would grab it. It might keep it up there, and then we might get dumped on as it comes back around.
But it's...
A lot of times, and we might not even be safe from that, because a lot of times the jet stream, especially in late years, has been taking this real weird twist where it goes right over Seattle and then curves around right back out into the Pacific and then almost right over our heads here in southern Nevada. It does some really weird stuff.
Yeah, see, I'm in northern Texas, so...
Oh, I see.
So it comes straight across us, too.
Yeah. All right, sir. Well, that's
I do have a question for you, though.
Yes?
I can't remember if it was your site or not that I was reading about the electromagnetic pulse bombs.
Yes.
What happens if one of those is set off close to a nuclear plant and takes out all of the controls for the nuclear plant?
Well, all right. Here's what I think is the answer to that. Number one, I would imagine, I would hope, I would pray that nuclear plants would be hardened to at least to some degree against that sort of thing. By nature of the protections they have anyway, I would hope that they would have some protection. But truly answering your question, sir, I don't have the slightest idea. It may be they'd freeze, and all the controls, the electronic controls would freeze, and with the obvious ensuing problems. We're going to have a guest next week on nuclear power, nuclear waste in the age of terrorism. And now, things have changed, and nuclear power, its place in our society, I think, is not what it was, and it's really a shame in a lot of ways, because it's a pretty good source of power as they go. You know, that being said, there are a lot of attendant problems like, Yucca Mountain right near me. And then, of course, even more than that, the transportation of it to Yucca Mountain, the amount of waste we have and all the rest of that. But ultimately, nuclear power would have been one answer for a very needful society with regard to energy. But my God, since the terrorism has happened, I don't know, it doesn't make the nuke plants look so good anymore. They're just natural targets. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay, sir. Where are you?
I'm in Mendocino County, California.
Okay.
I just wanted to make a comment about these people who have been astrally molested or
well, again, sir, some people use the word ghost, some say entity, some say evil entity, some say alien.
Yeah.
These are just our perceptions. It's something.
Well, my comment is I had an out-of-body experience about 4 years ago in Amarillo, Texas, while traveling.
Uh-huh.
And I was just, that experience was so real to me that I decided to read all the literature I could find on the astral projection and out-of-body experiences.
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot out there for sure. And one book that I read, I think it was Journeys Out of the Body. I forget. It's a really popular one. I forget the author's name.
Yes, well, doesn't matter.
He explained how he did an experiment while he was out of his body, and he went and spied on one of his friends and pinched her. And the next day, while he did that, she actually jumped, and the next day he went to her and told her that he did that, and she lifted up her shirt and had a bruise where that had happened.
Well, okay, I see exactly, of course, where you're going. Now, we know that the world is full of all kinds of different people, and if astral projection is real, which I believe it to be, I've interviewed many people on the subject, then some of the people out there might take sexual advantage of others in that condition, let's face it. And so that could be one of the things we're talking about here.
Yes, that was my comment. I was just going to say people could consciously be doing this thing because they have the ability to leave their physical bodies and do such things. So, yeah, that's basically my comment.
Well, basically, sir, your comment is right dead on the money. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate that, and I think you're dead right. It's something that so many researchers are afraid to talk about. I mean it. They're afraid to talk about it. They're afraid to talk about the darker side of anything. So many guests that I have on are in kind of a, maybe they feel they have to be, you know, but a touchy-feely kind of new agey world where all is bright and good and happiness. And the powers that we discuss on this program, and there are many powers we have discussed, many abilities and powers are, according to many of my guests, never used for anything dark. Well, I don't buy that. I've never bought that. I think that any power, any ability, like everything else that we know about, can be used for good or evil, and there are plenty of people out there in this world, we all know, who are willing to do mischief. And if they can do mischief anonymously, and by that I mean rape, molestation, whatever you can imagine, and they can do it anonymously, and you really can leave your body and do these things, then you damn well have to imagine that it's being done, and that might account for some of these stories, and likely does. It's just that the researchers always like to paint this stuff, and I understand, I guess, why they want to do that, and they don't really want to admit. A lot of the people who talk about astral travel will tell you again and again, oh, it is absolutely safe. I'm not convinced. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello. Hello?
Hello there.
Yes, hello.
Hey, Art Bell.
Yes, that would be me.
Mark outside of Kokomo, Indiana.
Kokomo?
Yes.
Oh, that's Kokomo hums because it can't sing, huh?
That's exactly right.
And tell me something. Please tell me, what the heck is going on there?
I'm telling you, there is a little hum outside. A lot of people say they can't hear it. There's a lot of people that do.
Do you?
Oh, I can hear it. I can hear it.
You can hear it. And,
I can hear it.
And what does it sound like to you?
Oh, that's hard to kind of put into words. It's just
okay. A news story the other day said a lot of people were likening the sound to an idling diesel engine. You know, like on a big rig.
Right. That's exactly right. That's what I kind of hear.
Is it enough to keep you awake at times?
It don't keep me awake, but I've had neighbors and stuff down the road from me. They've moved out of town.
Well,
abandoned their houses.
Yep, the effects of low frequencies on the human psyche and brain are pretty well documented, and you get dizzy, you get nausea, it disrupts you.
But there's been people have to their plaster crack in their house and.
Oh, really?
And I don't know. It's strange.
Well, I understand that is it the Kokomo City Council or government there in Kokomo is allocating $100,000 to try to find out what.
You know what? I thought, well, if I can go find it for them, maybe they'll give me that $100,000. But there's people that can't hear it, but then there's lots of people that can.
Well, let me ask you this, sir. What do you imagine in your wildest dreams that it is?
Myself, I think it's some kind of a fan on top of some building somewhere that's spinning, and it's either got a bearing out of it or it's hitting something. It's probably on one of the top of the industrial plants, but
so you're suggesting the vibration is transmitted through the building into the earth.
It's something like that. But you can go out. If I go 30 miles outside town, you cannot hear it.
I don't know if geology would find that a sound theory or not. It just doesn't seem like the Earth could transmit that minor a sound. It seems almost like it would have to be under the Earth to be transmitted that distance. I could be wrong, and maybe you're right. We'll see.
$100,000. Somebody better find something.
That's a good point. I guess politicians have their necks out a little bit on this because, as you point out, for $100,000 they better find something, or they're going to get laughed at.
Well, if I find something new or something, I'll fax you or email you.
All right, please keep us informed. A call from Kokomo, where this hum is going on. It's pretty weird, and it's to the point where people are moving away. And so, you know, when that begins to occur, obviously you get the attention of politicians who want to know what the hell's going on. It just, you know, I take his idea, but it just doesn't seem geologically sound to imagine something would resonate through a building, then down into the earth and be radiated that far. You never know. Stranger things. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning.
Oh, hi, Art.
Hi.
Wow, it's great to talk to you. It's been years.
Years, huh?
I've been trying to get through for...
That's too long between calls.
for years. Anyway, I just haven't had any good luck. I have a great story. I think it's a monster. It was a monster to me at the time, that's for sure.
Where are you, huh?
I'm in Eagle Point, Oregon.
Okay. And what happened to you and when?
Judy. This was some years ago. My daughter's grown now. She's 31, and she was a little girl, about 6 or 7 then. Mm-hmm. We lived in Central California, and it was a hot summer afternoon. She was in her room napping right next to my room, and I had a friend over, and we were in my room with the shades drawn with a cold drink, probably a soft drink.
Right.
There was no substance abuse involved. There was nothing going on that was strange. We were just kicking back and trying to stay cool. And we were having conversation. And it wasn't about anything related to what happened next. We were wide awake. This is so crazy. You know, I have never heard a story like this on your show, and I listen every night religiously, really.
All right.
Okay. But it's true. We were talking, I had my back towards the side of my bed. We were sitting on my bed. And all of a sudden I felt like a presence behind me, right at the edge of the bed. And I figured it was my daughter because she would often wake up and just step into the room very quietly. It wasn't. I turned around, and standing by my bed was a creature about, he was standing upright. It was covered with fur, long silver fur, with a long nose. It had really close-set eyes. It was totally there. It was breathing. I could see it breathing. Was
it humanoid? Was it, describe it further. You said it had fur, silvery fur.
Long silver fur around its head and neck and chest. It was standing upright.
How tall?
About 3.5 feet tall.
Probably. Oh, small.
Not real tall, right.
Okay.
But, later it came to me what it was, but at the time I was frozen in time and I couldn't move, and I was totally awestruck by this thing.
And later?
And it started moving towards me. It was totally three-dimensional. It was so clear.
In other words, it had as much substance as somebody you would normally see in a room? Okay.
Exactly. But it had a little bit of a glow around it. That was the only difference.
Oh.
And it started moving towards me, and we had eye contact, and I couldn't move. I was totally fascinated by it. I was more fascinated than I was frightened at the time. Huh. But I knew this thing could get me if it wanted to, because it was right beside me. And its face, as it moved towards me, it was opening its mouth, and I could see these jagged, sharp teeth. Its mouth was full of them. And I could see its tongue, and I could see it breathing, and it just kept getting closer to my face, its face closer to my face. And it got to within, very slowly, within about 4 inches of my face. And I couldn't stand it anymore. I had to do something, even though it hadn't made an aggressive move towards me.
Well, that's what I call aggressive. It's 4 inches from you is really in your space.
It was in my face, and it was so real. So I turned to my friend. Finally, I was able to move out of sheer panic, and I turned to see if he was witnessing this thing too. And he was just riveted to me, and he said, "What is wrong with you? You're white as a sheet." And I knew he hadn't seen it, so I turned back again, and it was gone. And later I realized what it was, and you're going to just think this is just so bizarre. It was a silver baboon.
A silver baboon?
I'm almost positive.
Did this thing make any sound?
No sound whatsoever. no message. I have never been able to figure out why it happened. A lot of strange things have happened to me in my life. Most of them pretty vivid.
Yeah, I'd put that in the category of monster, all right.
I would, yeah, it was more like a monster than anything else, but it's always...
If you hadn't snapped out of it,
right.
What do you think would have happened?
Oh, my God, I don't know. It was just about to touch me. It was just...
I understand. Do you think something would have occurred to you? Do you physically?
Yeah, I do, because it was so real, and it was emanating energy. I could sort of almost feel that. Excuse me, but I didn't really feel real threatened. I knew it was interdimensional.
Well, that's because you were frozen with fear. That
Right.
really happens, and I'm sure that aids a lot of abductions and all the rest of it. You are flat frozen with fear. You can't move.
was. I really was. But it's absolutely true, and I've never heard a baboon story before.
Nor have I.
I don't understand it at all.
Excepting those strange creatures that they appear to be seeing near the Florida Everglades and in parts of Florida, even some outside the Everglades.
Okay.
They're sort of a kind of an almost Bigfoot type creature, but not silvery the way you just talked about.
Yeah, this was exactly, when I thought back, I realized it looked exactly like a silver baboon. Now, this is interesting. I started researching baboons then because I thought it must have been symbolic or something.
Yes.
Excuse me, I have a cold. And I didn't find anything. I couldn't find anything in literature, art literature, anywhere I looked. And I looked everywhere I could think of.
All right, well, now you've tossed it to a bunch of millions of people, and we'll get more info and see if others have had that encounter.
That would be nice.
All right, thanks for your call.
Thank you, Art.
Take care. Well, how about it? Anybody else out there have a silver baboon encounter? I'm Art Bell. This is Coast to Coast AM. Good morning, everybody. The strange in the night. Good morning, everybody. We're in open lines. Here's an email I just got this minute. Art, I've had 2 sexual encounters with nightly visitors. The first one around 1993, and I was awakened by a figure standing in my bedroom door. Because the light over the kitchen sink was on, out in the kitchen, I could see the figure but no features. I thought it was my college son coming up from his apartment downstairs to ask if we had anything to eat while he was studying. I knew immediately it wasn't. As it started walking across the floor at the end of the bed and came up to me and got on top of me, I was paralyzed, absolutely could not move. I could feel and hear my heart beating in my chest and could feel the arteries in my neck pulsing. I could hear my husband sleeping beside me and couldn't figure out why he didn't wake up. I tried to yell at him to wake him up to help me, but I couldn't speak, just when I thought I was going to have a heart attack because I was yelling at this being telepathically that I was going to have a heart attack. He just vanished. As soon as he vanished, I sat straight up. My heart was still racing, looked around the room and tried to tell myself that it was only a bad dream. I never told anybody about it because in my heart I knew it was not a dream, but I really didn't know what it was. Then about 4 years later, I had started sleeping in a guest bedroom because my husband was very ill and I rested better there at about 2 o'clock in the morning. I had the feeling someone was in my room. I woke up and there, standing at the foot of my bed, a large figure, but this time I wasn't scared at all because the room was filled with pure love. It was the best thing I've ever felt my whole life, but this figure also came to the side of the bed and proceeded to lie on me. It was great. I don't know how I knew this, but I knew he had blonde, wavy, shoulder-length hair, and I kept asking him telepathically, "Who are you?" I could feel the weight of him on me, but I told myself this must be a dream. However, I found out this time I was totally paralyzed, except my arms. So I thought, perhaps if I crossed my arms over my chest, all I would feel would be me. But I was wrong. I felt a very broad, muscular back. Again, I asked, who was he? All of a sudden, he just vanished. Then I couldn't move. I'll never forget that feeling of total unconditional love that filled the room, And many times I wished he would come back, but never has. This is the first time I've told anyone. I always thought everyone would think I was crazy. Evelyn, and I will not even read the state that she wrote this from. Thank you very much, Evelyn. So that's one of the things we're talking about, kind of an out there on the edge topic, but not really. Because as I keep saying, even in the regular world out here, folks, people don't report sexual assaults most of the time. And, of course, these sorts of sexual assaults probably are never reported. But I'll tell you this, the abduction, people know all about it. They just don't want to talk about it. And then we're talking about classic monster encounters, if you've had one. And then finally, we are taking predictions for a very short-term period of time, the next 6 weeks only. In other words, we're asking you to stick out your psychic neck and give us something astronomical, something big that's going to happen in the world. Does not have to be terrorist-related at all. Some large event that you believe is going to occur in the next 6 weeks. And back into the night we go. First-time caller line, you're on the air. Hello. Hello there.
Hello.
Yes, you're on the air, sir.
All righty, I'm calling from Cape Jordan, Missouri. I happened to hear on Paul Harvey this afternoon.
Oh, yes.
That's the story about the bouncer in London who was found stabbed to death, but when
lying in a pool of his blood, they thought.
Pool of his blood, and they did DNA test from the blood and found out that the blood was not human.
That is correct.
And, I mean, you know, I'd always, in my experiences with bouncers, I'd always thought these guys were gorillas anyway, but I mean, this is just a little bit on the ridiculous side.
Yeah, I'm laughing and I shouldn't because it's not really that funny. I mean, here's a guy stabbed to death who obviously bled out, lying in a pool of blood. That's the way stabbing victims, unless the body has been moved, are always found, and the blood is not human. Well, this should be a little adventure ahead, huh?
Yeah, well, and I hadn't heard anything else about it or read anything else about it.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because Scotland Yard only has the ability to tell if blood is human or non-human. They don't have the ability to do DNA testing beyond that. So they had to send the blood samples here to America to be analyzed, and those blood samples are winging their way toward America right now.
To be analyzed by a veterinarian DNA specialist, I believe.
Yeah, that is correct, yes.
They're checking for well, I guess the only other thing it could be is animal blood, or then not of this world. That just I thought was an extremely interesting story. I mean,
or there's one other possibility, sir.
Yeah, what's that?
That the stabbing victim was not of this world.
Yes, exactly. And unless they find out that it's animal blood, and for some reason somebody thought far enough ahead to try and throw everything off, but that still does not seem like it would be very
in a street
feasible.
Yeah, in a street stabbing situation, that doesn't sound very feasible to me.
No, not in the least. But I thought of all the things I've heard recently, and I know you get an awful lot of varied calls on your show, and I listen to it a lot. I think you do a great job with it, but I mean, for this to be a validated news story.
Well, I would like to say that I am surprised and shocked, but I'm not. The world has been getting so strange and weird lately that it's just one more, but yeah, it's a big one.
This is widely reported by reputable news agencies that maybe would steer clear of anything that seems a little bit
Paul Harvey had it
way
on.
too extreme.
Paul Harvey had it on. It was on Paul Harvey earlier.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. All right, sir, I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was non-human blood. I mean, here's a guy, a bouncer, big guy, I guess, stabbed in the street, lying in a pool of what should have been his own blood, right? When you're stabbed when you're alive, you bleed out. So there's always a pool of blood unless the body's moved. And it's non-human blood. So what are the possibilities? Well, that he was stabbed somewhere else, brought here, dumped, and animal blood was substituted because after you've been dead for a while, your heart stops, you're not bleeding anymore, so the body could have been moved and then animal blood added, but that seems pretty exotic stuff, to occur in the street. a dumping of that sort. That's one possibility. Another is that something killed this man that was non-human, not likely in London. And the third possibility is that the victim himself was not human. And I guess we're going to have to wait for the DNA test. That takes a while. Wild card line, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Art.
Hi. Where are you?
Iowa.
Iowa.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had have you ever used After the Gold Rush as some of your bumper music?
I don't think I have, but it sounds reasonable.
Well, it's that abduction song from a long time ago. Okay. I had a prediction.
Okay. It'll be only number 5, and it'll be for the next 6 weeks.
Okay, this one's for the next couple days.
All right. Oh, really?
Probably tomorrow.
Okay.
Earthquake. And a little bit higher, what is that called, Richter?
Yes.
Than it was, a week ago?
Where?
This is, I'm not quite sure, but I think it's around the same area because I only really get predictions for the United States.
But somewhere here in the U.S.?
Yeah, in the U.S. And was that fault running east to west last time that kind of shook? Was that a fault running east to west?
What earthquake are you referring to?
The last one last week, Southern California, 5 point something.
Oh, I don't know. I forget which. I don't know that I even knew which fault line it was. So
Okay. Well, I believe this one's going to be north to south, and it's going to be a little higher than that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right. So a prediction perhaps for as early as tomorrow, but very quickly for a California earthquake, or a earthquake.
An earthquake, yes. And
okay.
It's going to be...
All right. Can I ask you how this came to you?
Yeah, I was praying. And the last time I was praying and I saw my vision rocking east to west, and the earthquake happened within 2-3 days.
Okay.
And last night I was praying again, and I saw it rocking,
north and
my
south.
perspective rocking a little faster, a little more violently north to south.
All right. Very good.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
Yes, I've had actually 3 encounters with the unknown. The third one quite disturbing, but the first...
Sexual encounters?
Yes, sexual encounters. The first 2 were in college that disturbed me quite greatly, but at the time, not like the third one. But anyway, it was an all-girl dorm, all-girl school. It was a finishing school. And one night, I had 2 roommates that had the bedroom, and I was sleeping in the living area on one of the beds, provided by a college dorm. Anyway, I felt something on me during my sleep, and I could not wake up. And it was groping me and heading for the area that...
Okay, well, before you go on, you say in your sleep. In other words, you were asleep. You knew...
Well, I could not wake up.
Okay,
and
so
I finally let out a little...
You knew you were asleep, though.
Yes, but it was so dark, and I was like a dream within a dream. You wake up and you're still in a dream. And so I let out a little yelp or something, and it went away. But just a short time later, within the month, it happened again, but this time I couldn't wake up. And it had gone all the way. Okay. And when I woke up, I smelled funny smell like ether, okay? And then I checked all the doors and windows and everything, and there was no way nobody could have gotten in or anything like that.
And you said there was a third.
Oh, my gosh, yes, and that happened within the past few years. I was, I was one of those girls that I had an abortion at 17, okay?
Okay.
And what had happened is this young man kept coming to me in a vision, kept asking me if I'd be his mother. And the boy was blonde and had pimples on his face and everything, and And after like the third time of him asking me this, I said, well, show me your father, you know. And in my vision, I saw a beautiful man with eyes that looked right through me.
Yes?
Knew my soul. And now, if I would ever meet this man, I mean, I'd like to know who he is, you know. But anyway, soon after that last time, I said, okay, I'll be your mother, you know, no problem. And
really?
I went to bed. It was it was like either that night or within a few days. I don't have a time frame on that. I saw a young boy around 14, 15 curled up in a corner in a room. I was up a stairs in a room, and there was nothing in this room but this young boy curled up in the corner with blonde hair.
Yes.
And I instantly saw him as my aborted child. And he was the age that he would be today if he had lived.
Yes.
But yet he was skinny and not deformed, but he wasn't, you know, really. Anyway, he was curled up. And then this bulbous figure, this man-like creature with a bulb for a bottom. I mean, it was odd. It looked like Yabba, the Hutt.
Yes.
Okay, and he was dark, and he said, okay, I can't exactly remember what his words were, so I won't repeat it. So then the young man that I'd been seeing in my visions appeared, and then the young boy comes out of the corner, and they start going in a circle, and they consume each other, the feet in the mouth of the other, and they started spinning wildly, and then the man threw me over on my all fours, gave it to me in my back. And,
my God, do you know?
And he said, "You have now conceived."
Yeah,
And I woke up, and I felt like I'd been raped. I mean, I was wet and everything.
You had been raped. Now, this is such an incredible story because, I can't tell you how many guests on the program, and we've talked about the nature of souls and the nature of reincarnation. And what you just told me about the very young boy that you thought was the aborted boy you had.
Yeah.
And this that was to be, and then the spinning around. That's just it's so incredible. I mean, obviously,
like a snake consuming its tail.
Obviously, it was a joining of, or a rejoining, or a newly joined soul. That's an incredible story. Now, the only question I have for you is,
my brother had conceived a son at that point in time, but I did not.
You didn't, but he did?
Yes. And the boy is looking quite a bit like he's quite a bit younger. He's only 8 now. Okay, it's a few years. Okay. I guess it was more than a couple years ago. Yeah. 8 years.
That's an incredible story. That's an incredible story.
And his mother and father, they're both on suicide missions, if you ask me.
I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. Right, good night. That's really incredible, and I knew that was the kind of thing that we were going to elicit if we dared move this way. Now, God, that's incredible. Again, I say to you, we've had so many people on this program talk about reincarnation, the nature of souls. Frequently, one big question has always been about aborted children. When the soul is inculcated into the child. The most recent opinion was first trimester, but who really knows, right? And then, of course, reincarnation. And the story she just told about the mixing and the whirling of these two is, in my opinion, absolutely astounding. I really appreciate that story. Off into a different area, as usual. I'm Art Bell, and this is Coast to Coast AM.
You're listening to Art Bell, Somewhere in Time. Tonight featuring Coast to Coast AM from May 24th, 2002.
All right, directly back into the night and east of the Rockies this time. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Hi, where are you?
I am in New York.
In New York State.
Yep.
Okay.
I was just calling about the spiritual rape.
Okay, are you on a speakerphone?
No, I'm on a cordless.
A cordless phone, all right. Okay, yes, spiritual rape, I guess that's one word for it.
Yeah, one of my friends was spiritually raped last year, one of my close friends. And I guess for a while, she's in contact with spirits, and I guess she was in contact with whom she believes to be Napoleon for about 6 months, and I guess a good contact, and then it became more like a poltergeist type of thing. Like it was more like
this was like you're telling me this was like an ongoing relationship with Napoleon.
Right.
Now, you've got to admit, that sounds pretty wild.
It sounds very wild, but she's had contact with spirits, I guess, for several years now, so I guess the only thing I could do is take her word on it.
She is not carrying Napoleon's child, is she? I mean, that would be news for the world. No, huh?
No, I don't think so. But
did you believe her?
It was a little hard to hear at first, but I think eventually it just became such a factor in her life. She couldn't focus on her schoolwork. She couldn't focus on really anything because this was bothering her so much.
That's incredible. See if you can get her to call me.
Okay.
Would you do that?
Sure.
All right. I'd very much appreciate it. Thank you. That's one for the books. There are, in the psychiatric world, there are Napoleon complexes, but this would be the first intimate, ongoing relationship with Napoleon that I'm aware of being reported. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Good morning, Art. This is Diane in Missoula, Montana.
Hi, Diane.
So, I was originally going to call about an attack, but I'm being inspired, Art. I recently had a flirtation with a man that I just felt weak in the knees, so I think when I go to sleep tonight, I'm going to try and go get him.
You mean have an OBE, an out-of-body experience? Huh?
I want to have my way with that man. I am inspired, Art. You have inspired me to go where no woman has gone
before. Well, you know what? Other women may have gone there before.
Oh, that's true.
So,
well, if I have success, I'll give you a call.
Have you actually ever been attacked yourself?
Yes. I was the one that called, a couple of months ago and woke up with bruises on her thighs.
Oh, yes.
And I had my first lucid attack in Idaho Falls, Idaho. I was camping in my motorhome. And I went to sleep that night, very peaceful, and woke up with this pressure on my chest and a split perception. I could describe the outline of what was on me. It looked like a man in a side-length leather coat. And then my perception split again, and I was being pulled up out of my bed. And I woke up then, and my arm was reached. My body was up, and my arm was reaching, and I just had the feeling that if I hadn't woken, I would have been dragged along with him. So that freaked me out for that image stayed in my mind
a long time, and now you're ready to go and return the favor, huh? Have you studied OBEs at all? Now that I know you're laughing, but
no. I started studying Carlos Castaneda 20 years ago, and was inspired by Don Juan and the whole Castaneda thing about perception.
So you're serious? You're really going to try this?
Oh God, Art, of course.
Well,
it's
somebody out there is in for it.
I can't have contact with this man. I have to have a moral. I'm in a position where I can't have sex with my coworkers, Art, because I'm morally bound not to do that. But in my dreams now, that's another story.
In your wildest dreams, huh?
That's right, my wildest dreams. And that's why I listen to you, Art. You fulfill my wildest dreams.
All right. Thanks for the call.
Thank you, Art.
Good luck.
Thank you.
To him. Well, it's, again, I've talked to a lot of OBE researchers, and they all know damn well this is a big part of out-of-body experience and research. It's just a part that they don't talk much about. They just spend a lot of time telling you how safe it is and all the positive, flowery, beautiful little aspects of it, and rarely do you hear stories like the ones you're hearing tonight. You just don't hear them, but trust me when I tell you it's an integral part, a very integral part of these sorts of experiences. I mean, so much so that it's probably the majority of these kinds of experiences, but it's one of those things that people normally just won't talk about. And can you blame them? First time caller line, you're on the air. Hello.
Yes, hello, Art. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm calling from Missouri.
Okay, you're going to have to yell at us. You're not too loud.
Okay. Yes, I want to share with you my experience about 12 years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Me and my husband checked into a hotel, and we were in one part of San Diego. And when we were sleeping, I was lifted up from the bed that we were both sleeping.
While your husband was asleep next to you?
Yes, we were both sleeping.
Yes.
We had arrived, from the airport, and we checked into the hotel before we visit our family. So, when we were sleeping, I was lifted up from the bed. My whole body was locked up, but my head, I can move my head.
That's all?
Yes. And when I was experiencing this, what happened was I was completely awakened by this lifting thing. I couldn't describe it, but just being lifted is not like by a hand, not like by any kind of force. If I want to say it's like a wind, it's some kind of a wind, if it is. Well, when it goes like very slow, and I was going up, and I have my cover on top of me. It was on top of both of us.
Yes.
Well, when I look at him, and he's sleeping, and he's facing the other way, and the blanket is, coming off of his body and was going up with me. I was looking at him, and I'm looking at above me, and I'm coming closer and closer and closer to the ceiling. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't move, my body, and I don't understand what was going on. And all this time, I was looking at him, and I was looking up at the ceiling. I was looking at him, I was looking up at the ceiling. And, this blanket completely come off of him, and when I look up, and I knew I was going to hit the ceiling, okay?
Yeah.
Because it was just lifting me all the way up, and the next thing I knew, I was back on the bed, and, when I turned around, I wake him up. He was deeply asleep. And
in other words, you went up all the way, virtually all the way to the ceiling. So far, it pulled the covers off him.
Off him, yes.
Huh.
Yes, it did. So, the last time when I look at the ceiling, I got so scared because I knew I'm going to crash into it, right?
Yes.
And I look at him, and the next thing I knew,
boom, you're back.
I was back on the bed.
All right, well, let me tell you what that sounds like. That sounds like an OBE. That sounds like an out-of-body experience. Now, the only thing I would have difficulty explaining would be the blanket coming with you. Normally, in an OBE, your essence, your soul, your consciousness moves out of your body, and you are able to, for example, see your body, but normally there wouldn't be a physical thing like a blanket being pulled with you, so I'm afraid I don't know exactly what class to put that in. It's not exactly an OBE, because it has physical characteristics that, to the best of my knowledge, usually don't accompany an OBE. Very interesting. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hello.
Is that me?
That would be you, yes.
Oh, okay, hi.
Hi, yes,
good morning, everybody.
Hi.
Okay, this happened in Sedona, Arizona. An interesting, very interesting place, dear to my heart. Okay, a friend and I were walking towards the creek, and we were just in a real mellow state of mood, and walked up, and about waist high below us, because we were kind of up on a ridge, we looked down and we saw something that neither of us could focus on because the brain would not compute what we were seeing. It wasn't like looking at a glass or something that you're...
Yeah, it is very interesting. If your eyes see something that your brain doesn't recognize at all, that it has no reference for, it's like your brain can't assimilate it. It doesn't put a name to it.
Right on.
Yeah.
It's almost like looking, like how a bird will look at you or something and they kind of tilt their head back and forth and the eyes wide.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's exactly what we did. And we were both looking, and all of a sudden, I realized when it came into focus that it was a very small, thin being that had on a black cloak. But I'll tell you what, Art, one of the most interesting things about that cloak, and of all the experience, this whole experience, that cloak blew my mind because it was the color of the deepest, darkest black that you could imagine, but it had flecks. Now, this was in the autumn, and if you've ever seen Oak Creek Canyon in the autumn, it's just awesome. It's beautiful.
Was this a human creature, or how much detail could you see of the being?
Okay, Art, we were standing probably about 3 feet from this being.
Oh.
I prefer not to say creature or monster, but I feel like this is the first time I've put this story out. Actually, the person that was with me, I forced him not to tell anybody about it.
So he saw it too?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
So what happened was that
Please, describe as best you can for us what you saw.
Okay, the cloak had every color of the leaves that surrounded it in the most brilliant gold colors. The black was not a black, which is like of the color strobe. It was an infinite color of black, by the way.
All right, you're really focused on this robe or cloak, but what about...
He was about, I would say it was male. Okay, starting from the top of the head, interestingly, the hair wasn't like human hair that comes straight down.
Right.
It was red. It was almost like a Bozo the Clown colored red, but a deeper, more natural color.
Okay.
And it stuck straight out, kind of like...
like it got an electric shock.
Like an electric shock. I never thought of it that way. You betcha. That's
Okay.
it.
All right.
And straight out, all around the top of his head, and then you come down to the face, and the face is kind of a grayish-looking, bluish animal features. It kind of had somewhere between a pig snout and a wolf face.
Oh, my.
And almost a human-looking mouth underneath that. And the eyes were very close set. And its hand was very interesting also. Not only the cloak caught my eye, and of course, like I said, not being able to focus on that, like you said, the brain just wasn't computing, so my eyes were wide.
Boy, if you were to stop me now and say, what does that sound like? It sounds a little like some sort of vampire.
Oh, I just couldn't even go there. I'll tell you, this is going to blow your mind, the bottom line of this story. Let me finish with the hand, and then we'll go to the end.
Fire away.
The hand is kind of a grayish, greenish-looking color there again.
Yuck.
Has only 3 fingers.
Oh, bro.
Clawed fingers, very thick fingers. I'll never forget the picture in my mind. I see it now.
Wait a minute. Clawed. Delineate between fingers like our human fingers.
Okay, it was just like human fingers that have really bad arthritis.
All right.
And really thick.
All right.
And then he was swirling. He was bent down, swirling in a clockwise position in the water. And when he looked up at me, you could see the mouth open. He went like that and looked up with big eyes. And at that moment, my heart just went boom. Okay. And I grabbed my friend. We turned around, and I said, keep walking. And we turned around and kept walking. All of a sudden, he goes, what did you just see? What did you just see? And I stopped. I turned to him, and I said, what did you just see? And we both described the same thing. I said, I am going back. This is an opportunity that I'm sorry I can't pass on. And he was grabbing me saying, no,
just the way it happens in every horror movie ever made.
I'm sorry, but
the
it
girl
was too much.
always goes back. All right.
So I go back and fully expecting that this being was going to be gone for the hills.
Yeah, oh yeah.
We come down. I said, okay, I'm not going to be up above. I don't want to be like a one-upmanship, me up here, you down there. So I noisily came around like I was stomping for a snake, came down and was on the level, walked down the side of the red rocks there, came around, and I was facing nothing more than this most beautiful woman sitting in the lotus position. And she was, again, had all the colors that surrounded the creek at that time. We walked up, and the guy started rattling. He was nervous, of course. And he said, we just wanted to talk with you, and I just looked at him and gave like this shh. And she welcomed us to sit down in the most peaceful, angelic, most beautiful, serene voice. So we sat down cross-legged in front of her, just as if you were sitting two feet away.
Yes.
She was beautiful. And you know what? I don't know what happened. We had a lapse of time. We had no idea. Once we got up, we both stood up simultaneously, said thank you, and we turned around and walked away. And I said, what did she say to us? And he said, I don't have a clue.
Well, you had an experience, didn't you? And it may take hypnotic regression to find out what happened. But boy, oh boy, after what you've told me, I think I'd want to know.
Well, you know, I ran into an Indian gal not too long after that, and she had said that, and she was from that area, and their Indian cultures have been there for thousands of years. And she was like the only person that I did tell, because I said, can you tell me what this might have been that I had seen? She was a maid at one of the resorts up there.
Yes.
And never saw her before, never saw her after. And she said, well, what you've described, you know, they talk about in the kivas and stuff, and generally the only people that see those are the shamans, and they haven't seen them for generations and for thousands of years. They have not been around, but they call them the keepers of it. They're like a guard that stands guard between dimensional levels. I don't exactly recall.
Yeah, the way it's going right now with dimensions, we need guards because all hell's
yes, sir.
all hell's breaking loose. All right, I really appreciate that. Some story. Thank you.
You bet.
Take care. Oh my. The only thing I would have to say to this, and I understand that I'm always over on the perhaps darker side of this than a lot of researchers, but it seems to me that in a lot of cases of abduction, of examination, and all kinds of things that go on with human beings and whatever these entities are, people describe this wonderful feeling of pure love and all the rest of it. Well, haven't you all considered that that might be like a narcotic? That you're being presented or imprinted with a mental image of something that's all warm and lovey and fuzzy, and maybe it is and maybe it isn't. But that certainly would be the best way to keep you under control, wouldn't it? Now, she said she didn't remember a thing and there was a lot of missing time. My advice would be go and get regressed and find out what happened to you if you really want to know. I'm not so sure that all these researchers are right. I know that what they do is they report what people say, just like what that young lady had to say about how it felt all warm and fuzzy and whirled and the warm embracing love and all the rest of it. But how do you know, especially after seeing The Matrix, that that's really what happened to you? It might be a kind of like a higher class a narcotic for your brain, something that is presented to you to mask the real horror that's going on. And I'm not saying that's what's happening. Maybe it is everything it seems to be all warmness and fuzzy love. But I simply am not convinced. And most researchers simply won't talk about it. I mean, they just flat won't talk about it, and that has always made me wonder. It really has always made me wonder and think that, well, maybe they're just all wrong. Anyway, shall we break? We have an hour yet to go. In the nighttime with Coast to Coast AM, I'm Art Bell. Good morning.
The trip back in time continues with Art Bell hosting Coast to Coast AM. More Somewhere in Time coming up.
There's a man with a gun over there telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what... So I came into you, sweet lady, answering your mystical call. Crystal ball on the table, showing the future, the past. Same cat with them evil eyes, and I knew it was a spell she cast. She's just a devil woman with evil on her mind. Beware the devil woman, she's gonna get you. She's just a devil woman with evil on her mind. Beware the devil woman, she's gonna get you from behind. Give me the ring on your finger. Let me see the lines on your hand. I can see me a tall, dark stranger giving you what you hadn't planned. I drank the potion she offered me. I found myself on the floor.
Now, we take you back to the past on Art Bell Somewhere in Time.
Listen to this one, everybody. It just came in. Email just came in. Art, I used to drink every morning. Make that every evening. Art, I used to drink every evening until I was sleepy. One night, I remember going to bed and having terrible dreams of monsters and everything. When I woke, I was on the floor and I was in pain. I got up knowing I had a bladder infection because of the discomfort, and looked in the mirror and found I had a black eye and marks of a beating on my cheek below. I went to the bathroom and knew I had been assaulted sexually, and very roughly at that. There was no one in the house except my daughter and I. I checked on her, and she was safely asleep. I checked on the house. It was secure. For several days, I had glimpses of demons. The next day I went to the doctor, and he verified the bladder infection. He asked me about sexual activity, and I explained I was celibate. He didn't press me for any more information, but both of us were uncomfortable at this point. I quit drinking. This was a demon attack, and I believe too much booze opened me to this attack. It was a very strong message. And believe me, I can still picture the demons who attacked me. Signed S in Texas.
Now, we take you back to the past on Art Bell Somewhere in Time.
Once again, into the night and east of the Rockies we go. You are on the air. Good morning.
Hi, Art. I'm calling from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm a first-time caller. I hear a lot of people describe these erotic experiences that they're having during their out-of-body experience or astral projection.
Some might say erotic. Others would say rape. And I guess maybe it's both, you know?
Well, I was wondering if you've ever heard anyone describe during astral projection, or I guess what you call an out-of-body experience, like have actually being murdered, you know, and being killed on an astral level. I mean, I don't know if that's possible.
I don't either. No, I have never heard that, and the researchers that I've had on would all say maybe it could happen, but if it did, you would instantly return to your body.
I've been having involuntary out-of-body experiences since childhood.
Involuntary?
Involuntary. I mean, it's like when I go to sleep, it just happens, you know. I mean, I have this feeling that I'm leaving my body, and
you can separate this from what you know to be a dream, right?
Yes, I can, because in these circumstances, it's like I'm in control of the situation. I mean, sometimes I've even woken my roommates up before, like, speaking in languages that I don't even understand. You know, like, I don't speak Spanish fluently, but I have in my sleep. Okay,
so in other words, you've learned to control what happens when you're out of your body?
Yes, I have, but I've had some very disturbing experiences. Over the course of the past 2 years, I've been involved with a young man here in my town. He's a very wicked kind of person, and I've had some terrible experiences with him on the astral level. But I have reason to believe that I've witnessed murders that have taken place.
Oh, my goodness.
And
have you ever seen anything in real life, you know, newspaper, radio, television, to verify?
I haven't, but the chances of these things being out in the open is pretty slim. I mean, here in the town I live, I mean, there are a lot of things that go on
that no one ever hears about. I mean, people die every day. You don't hear about it on the news. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I have a very strong telepathic connection to this person, and I feel like in some way that he has tried to reach out to me on an astral level or on some kind of subconscious level to inform me about this, you know? And I brought it up to him before. It's very awkward. I feel like this has happened to me more than once.
Only astrally, or have you ever met this person physically?
This is a person. This person is real. He's a real person.
Yeah, but I'm saying, have you had actual physical face-to-face contact with this person in real life as well as astrally?
Yes. I mean, this is someone that I see on a very regular basis, and I also see him on the astral, and I feel like he's a very negative force on this earth, and I feel like we're almost at warfare in a sense, and I felt like I was under psychic attack in a way. I felt like that my life has been endangered by this individual. He thinks that he's the reincarnation of Aleister Crowley.
Oh my God!
And, been sent here to kill people and stuff, and I'm really concerned that I may have seen some things that have happened, and I don't really know how to confirm these things or really what to do about this. But I was just wondering, you know, what happens if you are killed like by someone while you're on the astral level? I mean, can someone like really kill your soul? I mean, and how does that affect your everyday life?
Yeah,
I mean,
all I can tell you is what almost every researcher on OBEs has said to me, which I personally don't happen to believe, and that is that you're always safe, that no matter what would happen to you on the astral plane, if something awful happens, you snap right back into your body. It's the one thing that I've never completely bought into as far as these researchers are concerned.
I don't know how that could really be so. I mean, because something of like that magnitude, I mean, it's going to not only emotionally affect you, but I mean, it's going to affect you. I mean, considering that we are whole beings, you know, as far as like our mind, body, and spirit are connected.
Let me tell you what always stops them cold, all right?
Okay.
I say to them, listen, an awful lot of people die in their sleep, right? Mm-hmm. And they always say yes because they have to, because it's true. And then the next thing I say to them is, how do you know that they didn't die astrally and indeed physically as well?
Right.
And they go, well, I don't know. So there's your answer.
You know, I think a lot of people go into who are new at astral projection or who are not familiar with it go into looking for some kind of pleasurable sexual experience. Maybe
I had a lady like that a little while ago. Did you hear that lady?
Yeah, I did, and I wanna say a word of caution to anyone who is seeking any kind of like sexual or emotional gratification through astral projection. It's a very serious thing, and it may at first seem like it's something harmless or something that could be beneficial to you, but like you said, you may perhaps be opening up a door to something that may be more powerful than you really expect. And you should always be very careful, you know, and you should pray or meditate or whatever, about that.
So in other words, you might say astral sex is not necessarily safe sex.
No, it's not necessarily safe sex. You may be opening your channels to something very negative, and you may not even know it.
I appreciate the call.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's something to think about, isn't it? That lady was pretty charged up about taking off after her dream man, but you may get more than you bargained for. And I'm the doubting Thomas on this astral projection thing. It may be all fine and warm and fuzzy, but I sort of never bought that. I mean, on the astral plane and elsewhere, it seems like there's positive and negative, yin and yang to everything, and I know researchers are loath to talk about the yang part, but they yin it up pretty well, but the yang part they don't talk about. I've always believed they're probably nearly equal forces. And west of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was just thinking, there's been quite a few of us gals calling in with strange, erotic experiences in the night, but I haven't heard the men calling in as much, and I thought that was rather curious. I don't know.
Well, it's not in the sense that when a topic catches on, all of a sudden everybody out there who's been afraid to say anything because they felt so alone,
yes,
all of a sudden isn't afraid to say it anymore.
Well, I'm still afraid that from hearing some of your other stories tonight, I'm it's been kind of a balm to my spirit, because, you know, something like that happens to you, and you truly, you know, you don't talk about it, and you feel possibly that you're the only one. So it's really a relief to hear that you're not.
Quite obviously you're not. What happened to you?
Vacation cabin in the hills and the hollers, way back in the holler is where my cabin was.
Right.
And there's certain parts of the United States that the CB radio is used more or less like the old-time party lines. You know, neighbors keep in touch, and so I couldn't sleep. It was evening, late at night, and so I thought, well, you know, I'll turn the radio on. And I didn't have a phone at the time. Friends had come over and hooked up a decent base unit so that I could, you know, call out and say, hey, you know, could I get a ride to the store, you know, whatever. So I got on the radio, and I was just kind of surfing through channels, and I was having a conversation with some people, and all of a sudden a different voice came in, and it was very low, very masculine. I would say almost an ancient type of voice, very powerful. Yeah. And everybody else got quieted down real fast, and this voice told me, he says, I've been waiting for you for a long time. And I just thought, well, you know, it's just somebody else that can't sleep, you know. So I says, well, you know, I talked to him, you know, a few minutes, and then he says, switch channels to, he says, this channel's too crowded, switch to, I don't know, whatever channel it was. And
right.
So I did, and he was there, and he says, well, he says, before I talk to you anymore, you have to do something for me. And I said, well, what? And he says, well, close your eyes. And I thought, yeah, whatever. So I left my eyes open, and I says, okay. He says, no. I said, close your eyes. And that, you know, that did kind of scare me, but I thought, whoa. So I thought, well, yeah, I closed my eyes. And then he said, basically he mesmerized me, sort of a hypnotic thing, I think. I've seen hypnotism done at county fairs, and also years and years ago, Pat Collins in a nightclub show, I saw her. So I've seen, you know, that sort of thing, but at the time, that was the farthest thing from my mind. I was safe, I was in my own living room, and I was just talking on the radio. Well, he says, you're in a boat, a small boat, and you're rocking, and you're going slowly down the stream, and he's going like it, and all of a sudden my eyes flew open, and I said, that's the same words my granny used to say to me when she wanted me to take a nap. And he says, that's right. And see, I didn't grow up in this area. I have ties back there, but I grew up on the West Coast, and so by then it was like too late, and I realized that somehow the radio had opened up some sort of pathway. The next thing I knew, I had this creature in my living room over me, you know, just sort of like over me and looking in my eyes, and
I guess you didn't have a heart attack, huh?
Well, I tell you what, Art, it left a lasting impression. I pretty much lost my mind for about 3 days after that.
You were assaulted?
I was raped, but as I said, I was also mesmerized, so that I was raped, but this creature had the ability to be inside my mind and make himself extremely desirable to me.
You see, as I've listened tonight to these various stories, I'm beginning to see a connection, I think, between out-of-body or astral travel and the kind of situation you're talking about and so many others have tonight. And I know it's going to be a challenge for OBE investigators to really start talking about this, but I think it's time that they did.
Well, it's certainly not something like I was seeking. I wasn't looking on this radio. I was just, like I say, people just pass the time of day or night, on the dang thing, and I wasn't at all afraid. Well, the next thing that happens is hours later. This basically, Art, I have to say, this is a werewolf. He called himself Wolfman. Yeah.
Really? Did you hear the story earlier today about London?
I did. It blew my mind. I heard it, earlier on the radio. Yeah,
I'm getting a lot of people on computer that are saying werewolf.
Really?
Well, who knows? Maybe,
oh my
though.
God, I didn't think of that. I was thinking
maybe it'll
alien.
come back, maybe it's going to come back to cow's blood. Who the hell knows? But, this was a man stabbed to death, and he was in his own pool of blood, which was non-human.
I have goosebumps all over me, Art. I hadn't thought of that as it pertained to what happened to me. I was thinking, oh, this was an alien. But you know what? There is that possibility. The real kicker, Art, this is the really embarrassing part. Mm-hmm. For hours, this creature had sex with me. I mean, I fought back. I was physically powerless to, but even though I was mesmerized, I wasn't a willing participant in ways. I was saying no,
mm-hmm.
And he was saying, gross things like lick my fur. I mean, he was having sex with me in my living room, and
lick my fur.
I know, Art. It's just, it's really out there, but the bad part, Art, my radio was keyed down all for hours that night.
Oh my God!
So everybody within, and I had a pretty decent base unit, everybody within miles
heard everything. Oh my God!
The whole damn thing.
I wonder if anybody recorded it.
I would hope not. I mean,
sure you would hope not.
I'm humiliated and appalled, and
that's an incredible story. And so then
I'm frightened. Well, then
there really were witnesses. Then, in a way.
Well, yeah. At one point, finally, when I came back to myself, I had thrown my arm over and knocked the radio, the base unit, and he disappeared. But the radio was still on. And of course, as soon as I could move and come to my senses, I took my finger off the key, and the next thing I heard were these two other folks, and first it was real quiet, and it was a woman, an elderly woman. It sounded like she couldn't sleep either, and she says, well, I never. And then there was this older gent, and he says, I've been listening to this here radio for 40 years, and I ain't never heard nothing like that.
Oh.
Well, he left me with some kind of some kind of a post-hypnotic suggestion. So then, after daylight, that's when I lost my mind, and I got on the radio, Art. I surfed every channel looking for that creature again.
You wanted to find that creature again?
He had done something to my brain. I wanted to be with him again.
All right. Listen,
3 days.
I've got to break it off. We're at the bottom of the hour. That's some incredible story, though.
Yeah, I finally located somebody that knew something about him, a witch. I told her I wanted to find him. She said, why? I said, he has something of mine. She says, why? She said, what? I said, my free will. I want it back.
I got you. I've got to go. We've got a break right here. We'll be back. And back into the nighttime we go to the first-time caller line. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Art.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, how are you? Oh. I've been listening to you for years, and this is the first time I tried to call, and I got right in. I can't believe it.
Well, that's why we have the first-time caller line.
Well, it's so, when I hear you do these Friday programs and hear these experiences that so many people relate, and I've had so many of them all of my life.
Yeah.
And oh yes, ever since I was very young, very tiny, out of body, leaving my body, astral projection, all that stuff. But recently, this phenomenon that seems to be happening, and mostly it seems to women, with this rape or all of this stuff. Well, it has happened to me too, except that I have been able to command the spirit, or whatever you want to call it, to leave.
Oh.
Yes, I have.
And how long did it take you to figure out you could do that?
Well, I have had to learn over the course of many years to ground myself and that I am a being who needs protection, because I say I have come to the earth that way, very open, and I have been having just outrageous experiences since I was a very little girl, and my family recognized that. As a matter of fact, when I was a toddler, I used to hear my mother and my aunt, there were two sisters, talking about me, and they're recognizing all of this stuff about me ever since I was an infant. Because when I was like 4 years old, at the dinner table, I made things went flying on the table when all of a sudden, during the middle of dinner, I sat and told everybody exactly what they were doing. The fourth day of my life, when I came home from the hospital with my mother, and exactly where my bassinet was, what they were all saying, what I was crying about, what they were wearing, and what they were eating and cooking. Yeah, and so, but this, this lady who just called and was so articulate about speaking about this man who she's acquainted with, who seems to have an evil countenance, and
yes,
and I can relate to that, because there is a let's say gentleman where I work, and I am a music teacher, and he's like he's a presence in the area that I work in, and he has been like really just kind of like after me periodically. He has a problem with substance abuse, with alcohol. So he's like, not in control of himself.
It's kind of interesting that, substance abuse, specifically alcohol, seems to play a part in opening some doors for this sort of thing. I read an email from a lady about that a little while ago.
Absolutely, and I have noticed it too, because, we witness all kinds of abuse, but alcohol seems to be something where, I don't know. There's just a lot of bad behavior in an everyday basis with alcoholics that I find that is associated with alcohol abuse.
Well, look at what goes on with alcohol in a waking state. Look what it does to people. It emboldens them. It makes them not care about consequences. And so if somebody in that state were to move into an OBE state, why should we believe it would be any different?
Oh, absolutely, and this is exactly the case. This person, I've had to be the mature one and try to keep peace. I want to, like to keep peace in my workplace, and I'm very happy in what I do. I'm a musician, and it's just, and I'm the kind of person who believes that, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to enjoy doing it. Work, I always enjoy my work. I always have, but to make a long story short, he's the type of person, of course, with this bad behavior pattern, who would not take no for an answer. And he's also, of course, always acting outside of reason and truth, because there's absolutely no reason, there's no platform for his approaching me. The way that he started to is just acting out of his own needs and his own falling off the wagon and that kind of thing. But he was quite persistent, and then he became quite belligerent, as if I had insulted him. As if I was insulting him by turning him down over and over again and trying to ignore him and just go on about my business.
Okay, we don't have much time here.
Okay, but I woke up and I was struggling to wake up, because I was asleep and this presence was coming on me, and I saw it. I was coming up out of sleep, I was warned by this presence coming, and he was like, he was laying down on top of me.
Yeah, I was about to say that it sounds like this person is getting to a dangerous state, and obviously it got to a dangerous state.
Oh yeah, and I had to verbally, I had to struggle to get my voice out and to say no, get out of here, and to command him to leave. And but you know what? After it happened, and it was such a strong experience, I remembered that I had that experience number of years ago.
A lot of times, okay, I appreciate your call. A lot of times that can open having a conscious experience can open the door to allow you to remember other experiences that you may have had that you blocked. That can certainly occur. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I was surprised I finally got through, but actually the incident that happened to my ex-fiancée about 4 or 5 years ago, I guess.
Yes, sir.
But what it started from is that my family when I was little, they used to say that we had a guardian ghost, so to speak, that was kind of like a family ghost that always hung around our parents and everything for years growing up. And as a child, I thought it was just some sort of children's tale just to keep me in line, so to speak. And they referred to him as George. But then when I moved out of the house, it seemed like he kind of followed wherever I went, and never had any weird stuff happen around my parents' house anymore. And every girlfriend that I had, and it seemed like he didn't approve of her, he would try to do different things to try to scare her off, like messing with the electricity, doing alternating lights going off and on in the apartments and stuff.
Sounds like a poltergeist.
Yeah, but he would never do anything to me. I mean, he tried to push me out of the shower one time, but that was the only thing, physical or violent that he did towards me. But there were several times where my ex-fiance would like wake me up in the middle of the night. I hear her just like whispering pretty much and saying that she couldn't move and felt like somebody was like pinning her down, and she was like pinned and she had told me on several other different occasions that whenever I wasn't there, that would happen on a routine basis, and it just eventually freaked her out to the point where she ended up, breaking up with me, and and I haven't heard from her since. But it was pretty odd. But then probably about just a few months after that, then the encounters, I guess to say, with George stopped altogether. After that too. How did you handle all of that information? Well, I kind of thought it was kind of humorous at first because I'd already, experienced a lot of the pranks and stuff that George, had done pretty much my whole life. Messing with lights and doors and, pushing people around and whatnot. But, the pinning people down, I was kind of, standoffish about it.
Yeah, that moves off into kind of a different category, huh?
Yeah, like he was getting a little bit malicious about it,
Yeah, exactly. And that's, again, the point that I want to punctuate, and that is that, God bless them, all of these researchers into out-of-body and astral travel and all the rest of it really tend to come down on the goody-goody, warm and fuzzy side. I just don't think that's the nature of it personally. That's just one person's opinion. I think that it is a neutral force, and that like all things, it has a yin and a yang, a positive and a negative. And you're hearing about the negative tonight. You're hearing from people who have experienced the negative, and so they know. And that is some evidence, certainly, indicating that I might be right, and that these forces are not one single thing and are not always warm and fuzzy at all, or not even close. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Hi, Art. This is Elena from New Haven.
From New Haven?
Yeah.
Okay.
Connecticut.
Yes, Connecticut, of course.
And, I don't know, I guess for the past 10 years, every now and then, when I'm just about ready to wake up,
right,
I'll have this, well, I'll call it a dream, but it feels a lot more physical, of an entity, a real evil entity, tickling me in a very violent way.
Tickling you?
Yeah, well, his hands will, be holding me very firmly, and I feel like totally helpless, and, it's a very violent tickling. It's not a good thing, it's not funny.
Yeah, I hear that.
And it's not a rape like the other women said, but yet it feels like a violation.
Of course it's a violation.
And a couple of times I've heard a very deep, like demonic laugh. And one time I heard it say, I never see it. I just feel it, I feel its presence. And one time I heard it say, how do you like this? And I'm just terrified. I'm completely terrified, and I finally, forced myself to totally wake up. And unlike a nightmare where even though it can be terrifying and you might be sweating, you still know it was a nightmare.
Yes, that's a very interesting subject in itself.
This feels more physical,
I hear you. So you're really sure, there's no question in your mind, it wasn't a dream.
I really don't think so. I can almost still feel his hands on me afterwards, and it just feels like a very malevolent, entity or something.
Well,
I do pray. And,
are you? Yeah, I was going to ask you, what are you trying? What are you going to do?
Well, I meditate. I pray a lot.
And still it happens.
Every now and then, yeah.
All right. Well, I think that, thank you very much. I think these investigators hopefully are listening tonight. And the next time I interview one of them, perhaps they'd be willing to comment on this kind of stories we're getting tonight. Probably not, but, or perhaps they would suggest, well, it's active imaginations, and you can always say that, right? West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
How you doing tonight, Art?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm Steve from Salt Lake City.
All right, Steve.
I just thought I'd share with you guys the story. I heard the lady say earlier that she hadn't had too many gentlemen call in.
That's true.
So I thought I'd share this one with you guys tonight.
All right.
Well, first of all, since I remember when I was young, being real sick, and my mother went out for the night, and I'm the youngest of three girls, so I was in the bedroom, and they kept leaving me in the bedroom, and I can remember screaming, and yelling and crying because these little creatures, or whatever they were coming out the closet, and they kept coming out the closet and pulling all the blankets off me.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, and my sisters, they come in there, and they'd be ticked off at me because, they quit kicking the covers off the bed, you're going to get in trouble, I'm going to call Mom, and, and I'm like, I can really remember those, about three of them just coming out the closet and doing that, and I remember being real scared of that.
It's extremely important not to leave closets open when you go to bed.
Yeah, and since then, I asked my mom what they were, and she said, that the witch would be riding me because I'd get this feeling that, of not being able to breathe, and my eyes would be open. I didn't see anything, but I couldn't breathe, and I couldn't move, and I'd be struggling. It felt like if I didn't twitch a finger or a toe or something that, it'd be over with, so. And that still happens to me, even now today, every once in a while when I go to sleep, that happens. And one particular time when I was asleep, I remember that happened to me, and I woke up, and I actually had scratches on my chest when I woke up. And, I was like, wow, I know where did these come from? But, like I said, I've never seen anything, but I've certainly, been handled physically by them several times. And
well, sir, there are things in this world, thank you, that we see, we don't see, is what I meant to say, but nevertheless are certainly there. These things are there. They're as real, as I used to say on Dreamland, as the air we breathe. It's just that we're not conscious of them. And I thought that Donna Goode-Higby last night really put it very, very succinctly and well with regard to what all of this might be and what it all might mean. And I don't have a lot of time here, but Wildcard Line, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Hi. Only got a minute here, so let her fly.
Okay, sir, what about the Gulf Stream is shifting? I was prediction 86 on last year's show.
The Gulf Stream, sir,
yes,
is not exactly,
shifting.
hold it, it's not shifting, but what it's doing is it's slowed by about 40%. Actually, it's the North Atlantic drift we're talking about here. It's slowed by about 40%, and that's really significant. That's going to have a lot to do with the future of Europe's weather, which could become very cold indeed.
Yes, I read your book, The Coming Global Superstorm, and that was my prediction on last year's show, and I'm afraid it may be coming to us. I'm afraid my prediction may be, if not this year, maybe next.
I'm afraid your prediction, indeed, may be right on the money, and now you can look forward to a made-for-television movie and a major motion picture that's going to be done, based in part on the Global Superstorm by Roland Emmerich, who did Independence Day.
I'm looking forward to that very much, sir. Have a good weekend.
You have a good weekend, too, and tell everybody out there good night.
Thank you. Good night.
That's the way to do it. All right. Here's the song that Crystal Gale sang for me. from the high desert, good night.
This hour of Art Bell was recorded for rebroadcast at this time. Please do not call.
Welcome to Dreamland, a program dedicated to an examination of areas in the human experience not easily nor neatly put in a box. Things seen at the edge of vision, awakening a part of the mind as yet not mapped, and yet things every bit as real as the air we breathe but don't see. This is Dreamland. Indeed, Sunday again, Dreamland on the air. It's going to be quite a program this evening. I'm Art Bell, glad to be here. We've got yet another new station joining the Dreamland Network. It is KZIM in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. That's KZIM, Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Home, of course, of Rush Limbaugh. Glad to have them on board. They also carry the regular program during the week. Now, Dreamland. All right, let me give you a thumbnail sketch of what's coming up. In a moment, I understand there is breaking news in England. Breaking news regarding the Roswell photographs. Where is our Linda Howe? You guessed it, just outside London. She'll be with us in just a moment. And she has a guest with her, George Wingfield, who has now seen 30 minutes of the autopsy film. So look out for that. Coming up following that, Robert Morningsky. Honored to have Robert Morningsky with us. And if we're lucky, Linda Howe will be right here. Linda, are you there?
Yes, Art. Can you hear me clearly?
Sometimes, Linda, I swear we get a better connection when you're in England than we do when you're in Philadelphia.
So is this clear tonight?
Clear as a bell.
All right. Well, I want to say to our new Missouri listeners that the 4th Annual Midwest UFO Conference in Springfield, Missouri is on September 9th and 10th, and there is a number for tickets. This has been a wonderful conference. Susan Bedell has been an organizer there for the last 3 or 4 years. And if we can, I'd like to give a phone number for people who could contact Susan Bedell, because I think this is a very good conference, worth attending. It's area code 417-882-6847 in Springfield, Missouri. And that will be September 9th and 10th, and it's good to know we've got another station in Missouri.
Yes, it is. Linda, where are you in England, actually?
In Peterborough, north of London, about an hour. Drove here to meet George Wingfield about halfway, coming back from the Sheffield English Conference, which was held this weekend by the British UFO Research Association, known as Bufora. And one of the main subjects was the controversial alleged autopsy of a non-human being first introduced to the public by Ray Santilli in London on May 5th. And with me is George Wingfield, an English researcher who spoke with us on Dreamland at the Seattle MUFON conference and who has now been talking with Ray Santilli about new developments in this story. And he, George, attended this conference where Santilli screened a little more than 30 minutes of the black and white footage of both an autopsy and pieces of debris from what is now described as a crash site near Socorro, New Mexico, not Roswell. George, can you describe for us what you did see this weekend on film?
Well, on film, I saw the autopsy sequence, which I'd already seen on May the 5th in London. And in addition to that, I also saw some of the debris, some of which bore hieroglyphics, and also a very strange-looking, what appeared to be a control panel or some kind of setting which had the imprints of alien hands, if we accept these are six-fingered alien hands in the control panel. Very strange.
Meaning that there were depressions for 6 finger pads, 2 and 2, so there were 12 finger pads altogether that you could see on the film?
That's correct, yes. There were 2 hand prints, and these were 6-fingered hands. Beyond the fingertips were what appeared to be buttons, which there were 2 rows of buttons in semicircular arcs beyond the fingertips, and there were a number of grooves. This is an odd-looking device, I must say.
George, excuse me, Linda, Linda and George.
Talked about?
Yes, there was definitely something which looked like an I-beam. It was of that sort of section, and there was sort of quite a wide band of hieroglyphics on that.
All right, Linda,
in terms of this autopsy footage,
I can't hear
you said this was now a clearer presentation of some of this footage. Was there anything about this now that struck you as being particularly impressive to you as being the autopsy of something that was not human?
Well, I think seeing it the second time through, you notice an awful lot of detail which you probably missed the first time through. The people who were viewing this first time, I think some of them were shocked or really quite turned off by what they were looking at, because most people are not familiar with autopsies, and this is really in your face, and I don't think there's much doubt about it that what was being autopsied was a corpse of some variety, and not, as some people would have you believe, a plastic dummy.
All right, are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, may I ask George a couple of questions, Linda?
Okay.
George, the apparatus that you were describing, the control board, was this sort of a piece of wreckage, or were you looking at a larger part of a craft? I don't quite understand.
No, it was a piece of wreckage. It was, it appeared to have been broken off, and it was part of some console, maybe, something of this kind.
Wow.
And the fact that it had those 6-finger depressions is interesting, Art, because I know that several years ago there was a man working in intelligence in the United States who told me that he had seen some kind of a console in film that had finger pad depressions, and I always had the idea that it was the 4 long-fingered hands that we've had described all these years. Perhaps the truth is that there is something about these 6 fingers that is a reality, and we've all been thought or been told that it was something other than that.
All right. Well, this seems to be a big turnaround, and all of a sudden I'm sensing that both of you now feel this footage is the real thing. Is that correct?
Well, can I make my position clear? I think it's too early to make a definite decision on that, and I still hold back. I still sit on the fence until some more research has been done, and that the cameraman has been properly questioned about everything that went on in his story. Now, I do have the details of his story, which I'll go through here. It shouldn't take too long, but the detail is fascinating and rather shocking, in fact. And I'll also say that at this conference in Sheffield, Michael Hesseman spoke, and he has put more research into this than any other UFO researcher. I've worked quite closely with him.
Yeah, Michael Hesseman is from Germany, Art, and has been a publisher of several books and articles concerning the crop circles and other aspects of UFO research, and he has really gotten into the investigation of this Ray Santilli film. Go ahead, George.
Michael Hesseman recently, that is in July, went out to New Mexico, and he did quite a lot of research, including a visit to the site which the cameraman clearly indicated was where this crash had occurred, which is, I think, approximately between 15 and 20 miles southwest of Socorro, New Mexico.
In the plains of St. Augustine.
That's right, and it's off on the end of a dirt road, about 10 miles off the highway, down towards the south from the road which leads from Socorro to Magdalena, for those of you who know that part of the world. I can say some more about this later, but let me just make Michael Hesseman's position clear. He gave an absolutely brilliant lecture this afternoon in Sheffield, which had, you could have heard a pin drop because people hung on every word. And as I say, he's done a lot of research here. He said, this film may very well be authentic. I don't say this film is definitely the real thing. I only say that everything we checked out in favor of it. Indications that it might be a hoax did not check out. We have more indications that it is the real thing than we have against it. And that is a remarkable statement.
And what is it that the cameraman himself has released as his own story about how he came to film this remarkable footage?
Well, let me just run roughly through the cameraman story, and I'll put a few quotations in here because I have the words in front of me. The cameraman was in the military from 1942 to 1952. Despite having polio as a child, he managed to join the Army Air Force as a cameraman. He worked exclusively as a cameraman in an intelligence capacity, and he had top-secret clearance. He filmed such things as part of the Manhattan Project and the testing of the Trinity site in New Mexico. On June the 2nd, 1947, he was ordered by General McMullen to take part in a special project, which was to film a crash that had occurred in New Mexico, and he was to go directly to it. He flew from Andrews Air Force Base near Washington with 16 other officers. He flew to Wright Field, where he picked up more men and more equipment, and he then flew on in a C-54 to Roswell, New Mexico. Immediately they got there, they put all their equipment in trucks, and they drove out into the desert, and they drove for several hours towards Socorro, passing by an Apache Indian reservation on the way. They then drove from Socorro towards Magdalena, and they turned 10 miles south on a dirt road until they got to a dry lake bed. This area was completely cordoned off by the military, and despite a command he received from General Toohey in Washington, D.C., in addition to General McMullen, saying this was the crash of a Soviet spy plane, it was quite obvious this was not a spy plane. According to his account, there was a large disc on its back, and there was heat still radiating from the ground around it. There were debris and some with hieroglyphs on scattered in the area. There were strange beings, which he described as freaks, lying beside the craft. Now, this is very similar to the Barney Barnett story, which appears in Stanton Friedman's book. Barney Barnett came across a disc somewhere on the plains of St. Augustine in the Socorro area, and he saw a number of alien creatures lying beside it. So this is lining up with that particular story. He says strange beings, obviously from another world. Large head, dark eyes, no hair, 6 digits. This, I'm quoting him now, this was made all the worse for the screams of the freaks, that's what he called them, that were lying by the vehicle. What in God's name they were, no one could tell. But one thing was for sure. They were circus freaks, creatures with no business here. That's his expression. Each had hold of a box, which they kept hold of with both arms close to their chests, and just lay there crying, holding these boxes. This is a very shocking account, and it's a brutal account, and I think we have to really think ourselves back to the 40s, where we'd just gone through a world war. This was the era of Auschwitz, the era of Hiroshima, and behavior towards things which are not apparently human was not exactly very sympathetic. Mm-hmm. He says the medical team was reluctant at first to go near the freaks, because of the freaks. But if some were injured, they had no choice. He says, once my tent had been set up, I started filming, first the vehicle, then the debris. At about 6 a.m., it was deemed safe to move in. But these creatures, according to his account, have been left lying there for goodness knows how long. I mean, it might have taken him anything up to 24 hours to get down from Washington. This makes it very hard to believe this story. I mean, when I first read this, I thought this account is totally incredible. I cannot believe what this man is saying. But anyway, read it through. I think the brutality is something which is totally possible in the circumstances. At about 6 a.m., it was deemed safe to move in. Again, the freaks were still crying, and when approached, they screamed even louder. They were protective of their boxes, but we managed to get one loose with a firm strike at the head of a freak with a rifle butt. These poor creatures, if we believe this account, these poor creatures have traveled halfway across the galaxy, and they're met with this total lack of hospitality and nothing short of utter brutality. And I think that in this account, it appears that 2 of them were actually killed by the military. The 3 freaks were dragged away and tied up with a rope and tape. Obviously, 2 of them died during this recovery operation. One of them was dead already from the crash, according to the account, and one of them lived on because the third autopsy was done. Two autopsies were done in a military hospital in Fort Worth or Dallas in July, the first 3 days of July of 1947, and a further autopsy was done in May 1949, which seems to indicate that at least one of these creatures lived on for nearly 2 years. He says the craft and the debris were eventually put onto a flatbed truck and moved away and taken to Wright-Patterson, or Wright Field as it was then known.
All right, listen, I want to stop you both right now, and I'm going to put you on hold for a moment. This is too important to leave. I have some things I must get done.
Okay.
So please, everybody, just wait where you are, and we'll be back to you.
Great.
All right, good. You're listening to Dreamland. Big news coming from England. Linda Howe, George Wingfield are our present guests, and it's all about the Roswell autopsy, or more accurately, I guess, not the Roswell autopsy, but the New Mexico, I'll call it, autopsy. And we're getting a lot of new information here, so stay right with us here at the bottom of the hour, and we're going to come back and ask a couple of other very critical questions regarding this breaking news. This is the film, by the way, that is due to air worldwide on the 28th of August. Here in the U.S., we understand, by the Fox network. So, some pretty important information ahead of that broadcast. You're listening from the high desert to Dreamland. It is. I'm Art Bell. Good evening. Back to Linda Howe and George Wingfield in just one moment. North American Trading has a straight-out simple offer for you. They'll send you a copy of a brand new Senate bill that ought to put a chill right down your spine. This is a real Senate bill introduced and about to be acted on that would establish a new form of money in this country, actually two of them. One for use inside the country, one for use outside the country. A lot of people suspect one reason for this may be a coming, almost inevitable devaluation of our currency. So, I mean, get this Senate bill. Just call them, tell them, give them my name. They'll send you the bill. You can do it right now. The number is 1-800-877-9799. 1-800-877-9799, North American Trading, back to near London, England. Linda and George, we don't have a lot of time, but I want to ask a couple of very important questions. One is with regard to the photographer. Are there now indications he will come forward and say something?
Well, the photographer has spoken to the Channel 4 TV people who are making this documentary, which is going to be shown on the 28th of August. And he has spoken to them. I'm not sure whether it's face-to-face or by telephone, but he will not appear in front of the cameras unless he actually gets a dispensation from the president. This is what he's demanded, which is not likely to be forthcoming. Well, however, I can say a few words about the Fox program, which you're likely to see on the 28th.
And before you do, George, I just want to make clear to our Dreamland listeners, Art, that what George was reading from was this cameraman now known as Jack B. Period. The name Barnett apparently was not correct in those first releases. The cameraman's entire statement was read at the Sheffield conference, and George Wingfield was quoting excerpts from this. And it's also important now to note that the cameraman himself is placing the location of the crash retrieval that he was involved in filming parts and the autopsies near Socorro, and not the Brazel Ranch in near Roswell, which raises the possibility that we're dealing with two different crashes or more and different bodies. And George, I'd like you to address that confusion as well.
Well, this is very confusing, but the crash the cameraman refers to occurred on June the 1st, 1947, and we believe that whatever crashed the Brazel Ranch crashed a bit later than that, possibly mid-June, possibly even July the 3rd, which has come to be about the July the 2nd or 3rd, the established date in the literature. But these could have been two entirely separate incidents. That I simply don't know.
All right. I have one more question, then we've got to get out of here. It is the following. You have seen the film. The American public has not yet seen the film. When it is broadcast in America, and Linda, maybe you'll be qualified to speak on this, or both of you, how is it going to, in your opinion, affect the American public?
Well, I can tell you what is going to be said in that film. The researchers, there's a lot of denial and prejudice against the idea that this could possibly have been an alien craft. And I think an awful lot of researchers, especially people who are not into the field of UFOs, will find some alternative solution. And so you're going to be told that these corpses, which are seen in the autopsy, are the victims of nuclear testing, the victims of genetic engineering, the victims of germ warfare. All sorts of solutions of that kind are going to come up. And I don't buy any of them because, frankly, I mean, germ warfare, nuclear testing...
doesn't produce 6 fingers and 6 hands.
No way, no way. And it doesn't enlarge your head and doesn't make you look like that. These creatures are creatures, and as far as we know, they are definitely not latex dummies. There may be other explanations, but I don't buy any of the ones I've just mentioned.
All right, well, we're out of time. I want to thank you both. It has been a very meaningful, important report ahead of the broadcast here in America. So, thank you both.
I think, Art, we have to continue to keep an open mind on this. We may finally be seeing autopsy film from something that is non-human, but the question is now with the cameraman story, placing it on the plains of St. Augustine outside of Socorro, we have yet an entirely new story here.
Mm-hmm. Indeed,
the Bonnie Bonnet story.
Right.
All right, I want to thank you both. We've got to go. Thank you.
Right.
And Linda, next week, will you remain there?
I'll be reporting next Sunday, but I don't know from where. Probably somewhere in England, and I'll call you.
All right, very good. Thank you both, and good night from the high desert here in America. Now, this may all work very well together indeed. Let me give you a quote from Robert Morningsky, who is a Native American of the Hopi Nation. We are not alone. The astronomers are wrong. The scientists are wrong. They are here. We cannot see them because they hide. They hide in plain sight. We are their servants. We are their slaves. We are their property. We are theirs. Robert Morningsky. Robert Morningsky is considered to be an elder of the Hopi Indian Nation. When you hear him, he will sound like he came straight out of Harvard. And for all I know, he did. I've got a very long bio on him, and I'm not going to go into it. We'll let him tell us who he is. I've also got a photograph of him here, and one in full Indian garb, and I'll tell you, it's extremely impressive, and so I'm very proud to introduce to you Robert Morningsky. Robert, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you.
Where are you?
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona right now. I just returned.
I understand you're also a Native American dancer, is that correct?
That's my profession, yes. I'm actually called a powwow bum. I attend quite a few powwows, but I am a professional dancer, that's correct.
Mm-hmm. Before we move on, I take it you are or have become familiar with the autopsies that we just talked about.
Actually, yes, and I am absolutely fascinated because if you'll allow me a moment to describe where I have just returned from, which I think may surprise you and some of your listeners. Let me first correct a misinterpretation here. I am not an elder. of the Hopi Nation. I would not be presumptuous enough to claim that. I am, in fact, have been given honorary status as an elder in Australia from the Aborigines. So I do not want to mislead your listeners nor cause any disrespect to my people in the Hopi Nation.
All right.
I have just returned from an area called the Canyonlands in Utah. And actually what has happened is that approximately 2 years ago, while on a vision quest with some individuals, I was instructing them and guiding them through the process. We entered the Canyonlands of Utah, and I don't want to get real specific, but while we were there, we discovered some walls with some ancient glyphs attributed to the Anasazi. And one of the most remarkable walls is one that, in fact, shows footprints, and it tells a story about six-toed ancient ones. And the implication, obviously, if they have 6 toes, is that they have 6 fingers on their hand.
Yes.
And so, obviously, this ties in quite well with what is happening with this tape. These ancient stories, told not only in Utah but in Arizona and New Mexico and the glyphs, says that these very ancient ones, the 6-toed people, have been here and have guided man's evolution and his development. Certainly, I think several of your listeners who are familiar with some of the ancient cultures, the Babylonian, the Mesopotamian, also realize that the numerical system was a base 12. And certainly the inference is that if we contemporary human beings use a base 10 based on 10 digits of our hands, then certainly we can infer that the base 12 may very well have come from 6-toed, 6-fingered beings from the past. So I find this report absolutely confirming some of our research, which actually deals with ancient cultures, but now uncovering in this film that we have some video evidence of 12-fingered, 12-toed individuals. So I'm fascinated. I love this.
It is remarkable.
Yeah.
One other area that I know that you've looked into is crop circles. Now, Linda Howe is generally considered to be the world's expert on crop circles. And crop circles seem to be almost hieroglyphic in nature, or at least as indecipherable in many cases. And I wonder what you would have to say about crop circles. What have you discerned from what you have seen?
Most of my information has come, believe it or not, from a gentleman named Colin Andrews, who I met in Australia a few years ago. I was not familiar with his work. I didn't know who he was, and we began to, he showed me some photographs, and we began to go over them, and I was fascinated because many of the symbols are very, very akin to some of the ancient Hopi and the ancient Pueblo Indian glyphs. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to suggest that, in fact, the glyphs that, the crop circles that have appeared in the last few years, at least those that I'm familiar with, that these crop circles are intended not so much to define or specifically spell out either a word or a mathematical formula, though certainly I'm convinced that the mathematics is there. But I believe that virtually everyone who looks at a photograph has some sort of an inner feeling that they recognize that there is something there. Mm-hmm. And I believe, I'm going to suggest that these crop circles are intended to evoke ancient memories. I believe that we are being sent signals designed to try to wake us up to our distant past. Certainly some of the crop circles appear to be coming from Mother Earth herself. And I'm not going to say that this is a written language she's trying to express. These are outbursts of internal energy, essentially trying to warn we inhabitants that she's in pain, that she's having some difficulty. But by and large, the very elaborate designs I have seen, I really do believe are intended to evoke memories, to make us remember, or at least try to get us to remember that which we have forgotten.
There have been sightings of UFOs or unidentified objects above or near the formation of crop circles. And what you seem to be suggesting is that it's not an external source like that, but the Earth itself.
Well, actually, they're both. Actually, some of the simpler ones, the round ones, the simpler shapes, do come from Mother Earth. However, the more complex ones are being, I believe, manipulated and created by, I'm not sure I want to go out and say discs, but from a slightly further distance, and I believe that these are beings who were in contact with us thousands and thousands of years ago and are now trying to reawaken us to what is going on, and hopefully ancient memories. As a matter of fact, I would suggest that, for example, the face on Mars and some of the monuments on the moon, which I don't know if they've been discovered or not, I'm going to suggest they too are intended, much like the monolith in the movie 2001, to cause us to recall. I would say across the board that a lot of the phenomena that occurs now is basically a wake-up call. Do you remember?
What is it that we are to remember, Robert? What do they want us to remember?
In the Terra papers that I wrote actually back in college almost 30 years ago, what I was trying to suggest is that man's evolution, man's development, and even his creation has been manipulated and engineered by beings from the stars. Native America is replete with stories about star beings. Virtually every tribe, every nation has some sort of creation story that reveals the origin of man from star beings who descended to this planet.
And that, I guess, is where I should stop and ask you, what was your father's name?
My father's name? You know, my father died when I was young, and I did not know him. I was passed on and essentially adopted by another individual. That is one of the mysteries of my life. I did not know his name. In fact, I can only guess at it.
Then your adopted father, his name, I read in the beginning of the Terra papers that an individual, I guess I'm going to have to resort to that, had an encounter with what he thought were star people.
That's correct.
And that person is?
My grandfather, my adopted grandfather, we called him Dareny. D-A-R-E-A-N-Y, Dareny. He was relatively fearless, foolish in the eyes of some. In the sense that he seemed to have no fear. He would confront situations where perhaps wiser people might walk away from a difficult situation. He would confront it fully. He had no fear of death, and a brave person can certainly be called foolish by some and maybe admired and respected by others. Dareny essentially meant he was willing to not necessarily dare, but to accept virtually any challenge. He was not an unwise man. He always took calculated risks. And so I was very proud of him, but a lot of people do consider him, or did consider him a renegade, considered him a very foolish man. At the same time, like I said, I'm very proud of him.
He told you stories, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And curiously enough, I'll let your readers and you and other researchers make a judgment call, but the story that was passed on to me and that which I'm trying to, again, relate is that in August of 1947, less than a month after the famous Roswell crash, that there was another disk which came down in approximately the Four Corners area of New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, and Colorado, and that there were 6 young men, my grandfather included, who were on a vision quest. They witnessed the falling of the disk and went to the crash site, and while going through the wreckage, they discovered a live being. They took him, the being, with them to their camp. And there, over the course of a few months, they were able to nurse him to reasonably good health, and then began a communication between the six and this star being.
Robert, hold it right there. We'll be right back to you. My guest is a Native American of the Hopi Nation. His name is Robert Morning Sky. More in a moment. Just about anybody who's anybody knows the way to make money is to have it. Yeah, but there's more. You've got to know how to invest it, when to invest it, timing it. It is your belief, and the belief of the Hopi Nation, is it not, that our Earth, that which we walk on, is a living entity. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Living in the sense... In what sense?
Living in the very same sense as mankind. The arrogance, I believe, and this I speak only for myself, but the arrogance of the civilized world and the civilized man suggests that life only is to be respected if it is similar to our own. Planet Earth, Mother Earth, is no different in its makeup than mankind. I mean, Mother Earth is neutrons, electrons, protons. I'm trying to give a scientific description here, and so is man. The difference is the way in which these minute particles are put together. Mother Earth simply has the particles constructed in a fashion that mankind simply refuses to acknowledge as life. I find man arrogant, even in the description a moment ago of the Scintilla tapes and what happened to those extraterrestrials. I mean, if we are going to treat beings from another place in that fashion, and then we treat Mother Earth in the fashion that we do, I find man highly arrogant in believing that he is the supreme being and refuses to acknowledge rocks, trees, plants, and animals as living entities. If I can explain, in the Hopi world there are figures that are called kachinas. We believe that they represent the essence, the soul, the spirit of everything that which is around us. When they appear, for example, in the mesas or in the villages, they appear just as you and I do as human beings with a slightly different face, a slightly different head.
All right, Robert, Robert, I've got to interrupt. When we come back, I'm going to read you what you are going to consider to be an extremely egotistical facts, and I want you to respond to it. So relax a few moments. We'll be right back to you. My guest is Robert Morning Sky, a Native American of the Hopi Nation, and this, from the high desert, is Dreamland. East of the Rockies, you're on the air now with Robert Morning Sky. Hello.
Hi, how you doing, Art?
Where are you, sir?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I want to concur with Robert in terms of the Earth being alive, and it is talked about in Christianity and Taoism. And if you're aware of Don Juan, he talks about exactly the same thing. And the main thing they concur on is that man gets his feet connected on the ground and is able to pull up energy through the ground. And consequently, this leads, as they say, from the mother to the father. And if you read, if you've ever heard of Edmund Bordeaux-Zeckley, he interpreted a number of Essene Gospels, and the main thing that Christ talks about is through the mother you reach the father. And he'd go up and tell people to grab a tree, and consequently energy would be coming up through the body. In Taoism, it goes into very great detail as to how to get your feet on the ground to get connected to the earth. And in Carlos Castaneda talking about Don Juan, he said that the earth, getting connected to it, soothed his whole being and taught him freedom. And when you talk about the earthly mother being the mother of the universe, that's not true. If you look at Taoism, they say it's yin and yang. Even in all religions, to talk about God as the unspeakable. The energy that comes forth from that is, if you look at Indian religion, it's Shiva and Shakti, and it's an interplay between male and female, or just opposites that create creation. That is not the creator itself. That comes from the creator. And you can look at it, whether it's Hinduism or Vedanta or Christianity, that's all true. And you might Believe me, if you just look at these things, if you talk about appreciation of the Mother Earth, it's a matter in terms of all these religions. I can give you the name of the books and wherever you want to look.
Well, that's all right. We're going to have
getting connected to the ground.
All right, we're going to have to hold it there. I take it, Robert, you concur generally with that.
Yes, and again, I do want to clarify that I do not in any way wish to portray that the creator of the universe is a female. Again, let me clarify, it is the creator of Earth and man that the Hopi say is a creator. The creator essence is given generally a masculine role, but in fact does have a female counterpart. There's a fine distinction in what I did say. But I do generally concur with what you have said. Absolutely, yes, sir.
All right. Maybe we can squeeze one quick one in. You're on the air with Robert Morning Sky. Where are you calling from, please?
California, Art.
All right, real quick.
Mr. Morning Sky, from what I understand, you're saying with the cycle that's about ready to happen, is that because of some malevolence on the part of mankind, or is it just a normal cycle of nature?
I hate to attribute it to nature. I would simply say that it is a natural part of the rhythm of the existence in our universe, and that's very simplistic. Again, hesitate, but man is not causing it. Man just happens to be at that cusp where the change is going to occur. It is part of the natural rhythm of the universe.
That's something. All right, Robert Morning Sky, stay right there. He's our guest. And what a program it is. Dreamland. If you want to order our newsletter, get through. 1-800.
This hour of Art Bell was recorded for rebroadcast at this time. Please do not call.
From the Kingdom of Nye, you're hearing Dreamland with Art Bell. To participate in the program, call toll-free 1-800-618-8255. 1-800-618-8255. First-time callers, area code 702-727-1222, or the wildcard line at 702-727-1295. This is the CBC Radio Network.
It absolutely is. One more time, please, with emphasis. Our newsletter that is going to have a remarkable photograph of a comet called Hale-Bopp out beyond the orbit of Jupiter, taken with a 90-inch telescope in the next newsletter. The newsletter price is getting ready to go up. At this moment, you may subscribe at the present price of $29.95. It's going to be going to $39.95. That is a one-year subscription. Don't let it go. Get on the phone now and keep at it until you get through. The number is 1-800-917-4278. 1-800-917-4278. Still time to get the edition with the photograph of the comet. And in a moment, of what I promise you is going to be a remarkable segment with our guest, Robert Morning Sky, a Native American of the Hopi Nation, because I have the person who sent the fax, Steve, from Santa Barbara, on the line. He sent another one. This time he sent a phone number, so I called it. Steve is here. One of the more remarkable... Now back to Robert. Robert, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right. This fax, very interesting. Dear Art, Gordon Michael Scallion has stated in one of his newsletters, quote, shortly, in 1996 or 7, a great gathering of elder and young heart-centered warriors shall convene in the Southwest. Here, prophecies of old and new shall be revealed, brought forth by both women and men. Please ask your guest if he knows of any plans. When? Where?
Again, hesitantly, yes, I am aware. It is not appropriate for me to, and I believe most of your listeners will understand, this is their place, this is their circle, and it would certainly not be my place to announce or say where this would occur. This properly belongs to the elders who are holding the circle, so I can only say, yes, I do, I am aware, but it is not my place to speak of those things.
All right. The man who wrote the early fax, who you've mentioned now several times, Steve in Santa Barbara, the man who believes the earth is but an inert rock. I just happened to be able to get him on the line. Steve, you're on the air with Robert Morning Sky.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hi. Speak up good and loud for us. Get close to the phone and go ahead.
How's this?
Fine.
Okay. Well, I took the facts. I think the facts pretty much contains a good sampling of what I had to rebut to what Mr. Morning Sky had said.
Well, why don't you do it yourself?
Well, I will condense it real simply. Mr. Morning Sky, I still say that you presented no cogent argument to me in any form whatsoever that the Earth is alive. If you want to maintain that the Earth and the universe and atoms are somehow powered by mysterious forces that we do not yet understand and that life as we know it, organisms fit within that, I'll accept that argument, but you've still presented nothing to me to say that the Earth is relative to a living organism in its ability to metabolize, to reproduce, and to maintain its survival and have a survival instinct based on active activity.
I can only respond with two very brief comments. One, I suppose what is at issue is the definition of what is living and alive. I do not believe that what we human beings have either put in encyclopedias or in dictionaries as a definition. I do not believe that that is appropriate. And secondly, I absolutely agree. I don't believe that there is anything I can ever say or do. I don't believe there's anything that you will ever see that will persuade you, and I respect that. And, I am not here to convert. I believe that you have presented your position quite well. Hopefully, I have done the same. And the best that either one of us can do is to hope that listeners and whoever we speak to simply hear our story, and then they need to make a choice.
Mr. Morris, sorry, I kind of find it a little arrogant of you to assume that I have very limited perception, that I couldn't possibly feel what you feel, the great mysterious power within this universe. I will vision quest with you anytime, anywhere in the world. You name the date and the place, and I'll fly there. I'm open to amazing possibilities. You don't know what's happened to me in my lifetime, so you certainly can't make conclusions about my perceptions. And if you want to say that all you've done is, I feel, is present a suggestion that what we think of as life is not quite what it could or should be, that life contains more than what we think it is. And again, if that's what you think, say so, but don't say it's the same thing that makes me greater than a bowling ball, because we're both a compilation of earthly material, silicone, water, whatever matter you want to put into it. We're all atoms and molecules in the end run. But what is it that makes me greater than my bowling ball? What is it that gives me intelligence? What is it that gives me the ability to perceive my universe, register it, and communicate it with others of my type? And it's still, you presented nothing to say that the Earth is alive, merely that what we consider alive is much greater, that all the wonders of the universe are actually contained within living. And I still assert that you really are claiming that the Earth is speaking. You even said earlier that the Earth is hurting. Those were your words. And that probably the answer to why it's hurting is contained within your book that you're trying to sell tonight.
Well, as a matter of fact, Steve, that's a little unfair. I'm going to get him to promote his book because he hasn't even said a word about it. So I'm going to make him say a word about it in a moment, Steve. That comment was a little rough, I thought.
Oh, it's accurate.
Well, it's not accurate because he's not been peddling his book. I'm going to make him peddle it here in a little while. As a matter of fact, while we're on the subject, we'll get to that. But would you like to respond one more time to Steve? If I were to respond to Steve, I would say it sounds to me like he is searching, like he is hurting. And I think that I share your view, Robert, and it's something that you feel at a very deep level, or you don't, I guess.
I want to thank Steve for, presenting his thoughts and his perceptions, and his reality. I will simply allow his statements to stand on their own, and what I have said to stand on its own. I, again, do not believe that I will ever be able to show Steve what I would consider to be a truth, and I recognize that. I understand that. I choose not to participate in either a name calling or a put down of philosophies. I'm a storyteller. I'm simply presenting a story. If he chooses to reject it, that's quite all right. I'm not going to try and persuade him. If others can look around them and see what I see, that's quite all right too. So I would say I would allow Steve's words to stand on their own, and I would allow my own words to stand on my own, and allow the rest of the world to make their own decision.
Well, his were presented with kind of a tinge of anger, perhaps in reaction to what he senses may be true, but just does not want to accept. People frequently react, I notice, in these arenas with anger. Now, I'm going to do exactly what I just said I was going to do, and anyway, here's the facts. Art, be sure and get the information about his workshop lecture in the Seattle area that he's holding within a few weeks. He mentioned this, but I've not gotten any information, phone numbers or addresses or anything. Be sure you get it. So let's get it. Where are you going to be in Seattle and so forth?
I have been very fortunate that I have been invited up to Seattle and Yelm, and I'll be in Mount Shasta all within the next couple of weeks. My appearance schedule, again, I've been very fortunate. I can only at this point, since the list is quite lengthy, I do have a contact number that individuals can call either for existing lectures and workshops, or if they would care to invite or ask for us to participate later on in the program or whenever, I can certainly give you a contact number.
Go ahead, give it on the air.
The contact number is in care of the Terra Project. It's area code 602-996-6324. They can call that number. We can mail out the schedule. We are booked between here and the early part of next year. They can also get information on a book and some other information that we are publishing. And again, we're simply trying to present a story that is most certainly based in Native America, and but I believe it applies to the contemporary. I do not choose to try to persuade anyone, but simply tell a story, and hopefully it fits in with what they see is going on around them.
All right. You've written, I guess I'd call it a white paper. I don't know what you'd call it. It's called the Terra Papers. That's what you talk about. And how could a person get hold of that?
They can contact us through that number, and we would be happy to send them information on the Terra Papers, and we actually have some subsequent papers and data that we make available.
All right. Is there a cost associated with it?
We're asking essentially our cost to get this out, and it's $10 for the Terra Papers, and that's put into additional research, and we actually take people out into the field for them to see the glyphs, for them to see the circles, and we ask them simply to witness and then allow them to make a judgment call.
All right, and that number is area code 602-996-6324. Now, should they call during the day, business hours, or 24 hours?
The phone does function during normal business hours. Should they call after hours, and if there's one of the researchers in the office, they will answer. If not, there is a message machine. They can leave their name and number. We will get in touch with them, or if they leave their address, we will send them the information.
All right, good. Robert, hold on. We'll be right back. You're right in the middle of Dreamland.
On the air. Hi.
Yeah, I was talking with a telescope distributing place today.
Yes.
And asked them about the Comet 2, and they got information on it, and they said it was first detected in 93.
Well, I don't know. I'm hearing so many stories right now. I mean, it's called Hale-Bopp because it was just discovered by Hale and Bopp.
They said on the 23rd of July.
Yeah, well, yeah, so what now? This telescope distributor is making claims that Hale and Bopp were not the first.
Something to that effect. Let's see, the Daily Telegraph that reported it.
Yes.
And Sky and Telescope is also supposed to report it?
Oh, look, everybody's almost on it now.
Okay, I was looking at Sky and Telescope and a copy of the most recent Daily Telegraph, and I didn't see anything. Which issues were they in?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have it. It was just, this was on the wire services, so I would imagine it'll probably be whatever the next issue is.
And they're saying it's just bigger than something that hasn't been detected that far away before.
Well, let's say it's only a tenth the size that they're worried it might be. It would still be gigantic. And let's say that it misses the Earth, but heads toward the Earth's path. It may come close enough to the sun so that it will be the astronomical event of all time.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Maybe it's Gordon Michael's second son.
Time to sell comet bills.
Oh, look, there'll be comet hats, comet T-shirts, End of the World T-shirts. You name it. Everybody will get going on this one soon. We just happen to be on it a little bit earlier than most. Okay?
Okay,
thank you very much for the call. Maybe we should be in comet T-shirts now. What would be a good slogan to put on a comet T-shirt?
Story that you had at the top of the hour.
Unbelievable, huh?
Well, actually it is. I heard the same story on Rush Limbaugh late in the week last week.
Mm-hmm.
And he checked it out, and it was written as a satire in a magazine.
Brinkley reported it on Sunday as fact.
Well, like I said, Rush had pretty much the same reaction you did, and he got the source, or went to the source, he said, and it was written. It was not true. It didn't actually happen.
Well, if that's true, then thank goodness. Because can our society have degenerated to that point? Thankfully and hopefully you're right, and it is not. But I can't say that I'm convinced by your call, only because ABC and Brinkley reported it on Sunday. Had it been exposed as some sort of untrue story, you would think certainly by Sunday ABC would have had that word.
True. It makes you wonder about ABC, or makes me wonder about ABC. Okay, really, that's all I had. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And I don't know, I still kind of lean toward it being true. And you just can't imagine Brinkley would have reported that. Robert, here comes yet another caller. You're on the air east of the Rockies. Where are you calling from, please?
Yes, this is Mike from Lexington, Kentucky.
Hi, Mike.
Yes, you were speaking earlier about your step-grandfather, I believe, that had come across a crash site and actually found a being that they nursed back to health. What became of that? What happened to the creature, and what was the relationship, and how did that end up?
Yeah, the rest of the story. Good question.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, the purpose of my spending this year in going to the public and telling the story is that I think it's the timing is crucial. It is part of the ending of the cycle. The relationship was rather odd in that the star being in communicating, and it's a long story in how it occurred, but in communicating with my grandfather and the other five, essentially began to describe what I would call the warrior disciplines, the warrior ways of beings in the stars. And what my grandfather and his friends discovered was that many of the Native American warrior ways, for example, the use of a vision quest, the use of something as simple as a feather, some of the techniques that were used in war were in fact born in the stars. And for my grandfather and the others, this was confirmation that all of the ancient legends that we were born in the stars and that our ways came down to us from the stars was confirmation to them. Now, if you then turn around and look at this being who my grandfather and the others called the Star Elder out of respect for his wisdom and certainly that he came from the stars. The Star Elder, the being, found himself in a primitive society. He found himself in a savage world. Now, if you were to land in the center of the deepest, darkest jungle, and suddenly these primitives walk up to you and using stones, they begin to play this little game called Nintendo, certainly you're going to be astonished at where did you get this and how did you know? So there was surprise on both ends, because a star being sees primitives practicing star ways, and primitives see a star being confirming that their ways, in fact, are born in the stars.
All right, well, we don't have a lot of time, so what became of the creature?
The star elder remained for a short period of time. He returned. I will say that he has returned at least twice since 1947. There is an ongoing relationship with a handful of Native Americans, and again, not wanting to get into depth, but he is alive, he is well, and continues to make contact when necessary because of the situation that occurs here on planet Earth and the ending of the cycle.
The ending of the cycle. You know, I wish I didn't believe that somehow. I worry about the ending of the cycle. Robert, you seem to be prepared for it, rejoicing in it, and I wish I could adopt that same attitude, and maybe I need to study more. Robert, stand by. We're breaking here at the top of the hour. Robert Morning Sky, a Native American of the Hopi Nation, is our guest, and we are honored to have him, as we are you. This, from the high desert, is Dreamland.
From the Kingdom of Nye, you're hearing Dreamland with Art Bell. To participate in the program, call toll-free 1-800-618-8255. 1-800-618-8255. First-time callers, area code 702-727-1222. Or the wildcard line at 702-727-1295. This is the CBC Radio Network.
It absolutely is, and I want to repeat this announcement. It's really a big one. We have a new image of the Hale-Bopp comet. And I want to thank Paul again in Houston for getting it to me. Thank you, Paul. The image was obtained, so that you know, from Kit Peak using a Steward Observatory 90-inch telescope. A Loral 2K times 2K CCD was exposed for 30 seconds while the telescope tracked Hale-Bopp. It is a very serious image, and we want to give credit properly to Dave Harvey and Steward Observatory. This image is now on our bulletin board, and you can get to it by calling area code 702, if you have a computer now, 702-727-1709. 702-727-1709. If you have a computer, it's called comet1.gif. Now, if you don't have a computer, it is, I can tell you because I sent it personally by computer to the publisher, who will have it in the next newsletter, along, I might add, with the image of the crystal skull, Max, and a photograph of my studio, the one from which I'm transmitting at this very moment. You can get the newsletter. It's $29.95 a year, and how you could possibly wait any longer, I don't know. Every month it gets bigger and better, and we're going to keep putting this kind of information into it. The number to order the newsletter right now, and you just please keep trying, 1-800-917-4278. 1-800-917-4278. It's called the Art Bell After Dark newsletter, and I think that would be certainly an appropriate title for it. Well, all right. Let me again mention to you UFO facts. Now,
if you listen to this kind of material, and I know you do, number.
I bet he would. Actually, he's a very nice man.
Yes, he
would.
is.
So I just want to mention one other thing. It's got 300 photos in it.
Yes.
And it took us forever to put this thing together. 12 countries and a lot of film, and I think that people might enjoy looking at it. And if anybody has some strange ritual facts or ideas or anything that could help me in my quest for sort of a universal field theory of ritualism and mythology, they can send it care of Llewellyn. I answer all my letters, and I love to hear from people who are also involved in these kinds of things.
All right, and so they would send it in care of the publisher.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. All right, off we go to a land you mentioned, someplace in Louisiana. Hello there. You're on the air. Where are you calling from, actually?
I'm calling from Chalmette, Louisiana.
All right.
It's about 2 or 3 miles outside of New Orleans.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, first of all, let me say I really enjoy your program.
Thank you.
And listen to you every Sunday night. Well, what station would pick you up in Morrill, Mississippi? Do you know offhand?
I don't even know where that is in Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
I have stations there, but I you know.
You do?
Yeah, I sure do, but I'm not familiar with exactly where that is. Is it anywhere near? Well, I can't go through the list.
Okay, that's okay.
You'll hear us.
That's okay, because I just wanted to let my son know because he wanted to tune in too.
I see.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
All right, sir, thank you. I guess no specific question.
Hey, your voice is heard everywhere. If that's not magic, I don't know what is.
It is kind of magic, actually.
It is. It's magic. 100 years ago, they would have said it was unbelievable magic.
They'd have burned me with you.
Probably.
Uh-huh.
I suspect we're kindred souls.
Probably. First time caller line, you're on the air with Denny Sargent. Hi.
Hi. My name is Diane. I'm calling from Moraga, California.
Hey, Diane.
And my question is, Mr. Sargent, do you have any books or resources that you would recommend in addition to your own on this subject?
Absolutely. I am by no means the greatest author in the world. As I said in the beginning of my book, I stand on the shoulders of giants. I would recommend Iliad, who's written numerous books on mythology. I'm going to give you some authors. I would recommend Carl Jung, especially his real basic book that's for everybody called Man and His Symbols.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you...
That one's wonderful.
Exactly. and I recommend, of course... I'm losing my mind now. Joseph Campbell, and his video series is fabulous.
Okay.
And any of his works are fantastic.
Okay.
There's some other people like Eric Newman who people are not too familiar with. He wrote a book called The Great Mother, which is a survey of goddesses throughout history, which is fantastic. And this is a relatively new field. It's kind of a mixing of psychology and anthropology and history. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to take it a step further into the field of ritual. It's relatively hard. I mean, global ritualism is my attempt, but it's not a particularly scholarly work. It's really for just average people. Most of it was off the top of my head, just from years and years of reading and research and traveling. There's not a lot of footnotes.
All right.
Historical footnotes in my book.
All right, ma'am. There you go.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Now, let's talk for a second. You know, for some reason, Denny, I have a lot of witches that listen to me, and I don't mean just on this program. You would imagine that, but on my other as well. And I'm constantly getting faxes from them. Now, is not witchcraft full of every sort of ritualism? It's rich in ritualism,
Absolutely.
Is it not?
I've met a number of witches. I've been to a number of pagan and witchcraft circles in America and pagan circles in all different countries around the world. And what witchcraft is in spirit, it's a continuation of pre-Christian European paganism. Historically, there's not a lot of actual stuff that has been continually practiced. Most of it, what it is now, is a kind of revival of the faith. Of European paganism, but what you're finding is that a lot of witches and quote unquote New Age people, and a lot of people who are listening to your show, what they're doing is what I call eclectic ritualism. The whole second part of my book is called eclecticizing or eclectic ritual, and this is a movement that I'm seeing And I think the witches personify that, Wicca or witchcraft personifies that really well. But I'm seeing it all through the spectrums of New Age, of Jungianism, of every kind of group that is looking for a kind of global vision of what is going on out there. I kind of coined the term eclectic ritualism, which is people sampling Tibetan Buddhism, people going like yourself to Thai temples and getting some kind of feeling or experience, people going to Hopi ceremonies, people having some Hopi sage in their house and using that ritual, maybe having Tibetan prayer flags, using those, maybe carrying a cross that their mother gave them. This is eclectic ritualism, and this, I think, to be honest with you, is the great unspoken movement that's sweeping through America right now. And I kind of put a label on it. In global ritualism, I kind of addressed it. And I don't really claim to be unique, but I guess I have a lot of friends and a lot of contacts in many different levels. I know witches. I know many different kinds of Christians. I know a lot of New Age people. I know a lot of psychics. I know a lot of academics. I know a lot of psychologists, and they're all really doing the same kinds of things.
I know. That's
and,
what. As I said,
yoga classes are being held at my Lutheran church.
As I said, that's what's bothering me more than anything else, Denny, is that so many of these people are seeing and saying so many similar things that individually you can dismiss them, collectively you do so at your own peril. East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Denny Sargent. Hi.
Hi.
Turn your radio off. That's number one. Always turn your radio off. Tell us where you're calling from. Well, now he must have gone to turn his radio off.
Well, just as a quick note, do you know what I think the greatest religious movement is right now?
What?
The World Wide Web. I do. Because religion means, the root of religion is the Greek word religios, which means to relink.
All right. Having said that and not wanting to expand on it, caller, are you there? Hello, caller.
Hello?
Yes. Hello? Yes, you're on the air, sir.
Okay, hi, this is Mike, Detroit Lake, Minnesota.
In fact, the madness that you mentioned earlier will come to an end, but I also have to say that my heart, it hurts, it pains to think that there will be those, because they refuse to look around them, they cover their eyes with blinders, are not going to be able to see what is going on. And I can only suggest that the comet, the eclipse, and what is going to occur between now and its appearance, I would suggest that we just let it speak for itself. And if it doesn't seem to speak with the thunder, I would be surprised.
Here's one other fact seems relevant. Art, would you please ask your guest if he is aware of Terence McKenna's time wave? It is a map of time derived from the Chinese I Ching, or a book of changes, and claims the end of time to be December 21st, 2012, from Pam and Jeff in Eugene, Oregon.
Thank you. I'm completely ignorant of that, and again, can only suggest that it is a major coincidence, or again, we just simply allow it to speak with it.
Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Bob.
Good evening, sir. Where are you?
Excuse me?
Where are you?
Fort Smith, Arkansas.
All right.
I'd like to ask your guest if he made the comment that the creator of the universe is female because of the white buffalo that was born, and it's born female. Correct?
No, not exactly. What I said was that in the Hopi way, the creator of Earth and man is a female. In fact, the creator of the universe is Ta'iowa. It has several different names, but is in fact a male essence. And so, just a slight distinguishing of what I said earlier.
Does that help you, caller?
No, well, my point was going to be made to this, but if your guest familiar with Jeremiah chapter 44, verse 15 to 27?
No.
And I'm afraid I can't give you an opportunity for him to become familiar at this moment. West of the Rockies, you're on the air with Robert Morning Sky. Hello.
Hi.
Where are you, sir?
East of the Rockies?
Where?
Boston.
You're Boston. Well, you're on our West of the Rockies line, so thanks for the shot. First-time caller line, you're on the air with Robert Morning Sky.
Hello, how are you?
Fine.
Yeah. Turn your radio off, sir.
Okay.
And please also
Yes, I'm calling from Memphis, Tennessee.
All right.
First-time caller.
Yes, sir.
Yes, first of all, I think Robert and his grandfather both are right on the money.
Thank you.
And I have to ask you, though, have there been any, let's say, a meeting of the mind, so to speak, between the medicine man and that being?
I'm not sure what you mean by meeting of the minds.
That the being that was on the in the Hopi Nation, did he talk or communicate with the medicine man?
Yes. Well, I don't want to imply that all medicine men, but a handful, and literally less than a dozen.
Wow, that is indeed remarkable. All right. A lot of people trying to get hold of you, so we'll just keep moving. East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Robert Morning Sky. Where are you, please?
Madison, Wisconsin.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for having him on, Art.
Sure.
Robert, you know, we in the Western tradition have been raised with pretty much pitiful preparedness for the upcoming events. I mean, the meek shall inherit the earth is about all we've got to rest on. And I'm wondering, number one, do Hopis believe in reincarnation? And if so, what do Hopis believe they should be doing to prepare for this versus what can the rest of us do to get ready for this besides maybe go and live in the woods and try to be self-sufficient?
Okay. Again, I do not want to speak for the Hopi nation. That is not appropriate. But again, in drawing from Hopi tradition, reincarnation, as I believe most people speak of it, says that in essence, what you do in this life dictates what will occur or what your life will be like when you return to this planet in the future. The difficulty with that concept is that the Hopi do not generally believe that reincarnation demands a return to this planet. In fact, you could end up on a far distant star. You could end up on a planet in another galaxy, perhaps in another universe. The simplest explanation of Hopi transmigration, the changing of planes of existence, simply says that if you are a chief on this earthly plane, that in going through the door to the next existence, that you will be a chief in that plane. So in that regard, yes, what you do here does dictate what you will do there. Whether you will be punished or elevated in essence depends on your wisdom as opposed to an outside agency judging. I'm sorry, and the second part of the question was, what was it?
It has to do with what we can do to prepare. For example, I wonder whether all the Hopi will be gathering at the third Mesa, and where are all of us lousy white folks supposed to go?
Oh, no. I would never use the terminology lousy white folk. But, you know, curiously, there is a story that in this end cycle that there will be a messenger who returns from the heavens. He is known as Bahana, and in fact is known as the White Brother. Some literally interpret this as a white-skinned brother, but again, in referring back to the white buffalo, I would say that this is the pure essence of a brother, and can only speak for myself and say this is the presence of a star being. I'm not sure I can attribute this to the star elder that my grandfather's familiar with, but certainly it could be the precursor to the visit of another star being. I would only suggest that in order to expand one's awareness, one has to toss away the blinders. If I can take a moment and hopefully in this analogy explain it better. If you see a bear, you may ask one individual, what do you see? And this individual will say that this is a gentle, compassionate beast of nature. And if you were to ask another being, another person, they would say, well, this is a nasty, rotten, evil carnivore. Now, the question that I would suggest is, which is the truth, capital T-H-E? Is it the gentle beast is the carnivore. I can only, and very briefly suggest, one individual's truth is that it is a gentle beast of nature. The other individual's truth is that it is a carnivore. What I am going to suggest is the truth is the bear, which has it does not care what others choose to label it or see it as. It simply is. And in the workshops we conduct and when we take people out on the quest, what we are trying to say is you need to set aside all your experiences, all your judgments, all your learning, and simply open your eyes to the bear. And you will see that at times it is gentle and at times it is not. We need to, in the workshops I've been approached and say, oh, we need to learn, we need to gain greater wisdom. I am going to suggest that, in fact, we do not need to learn, but to unlearn that which we have been saddled with. We need to open our eyes instead of to blindly accept what is described as in front of us.
All right. Robert, I want to ask you a question myself. It's about the nature of our soul. Obviously, the Hopi believe, as we believe, there is a soul, something that lives beyond the physical body. From your description, it sounded like reincarnation, but not quite. You seem to believe there's a big cosmic bowl of soup sort of containing not just multicultures, but multi-species, and that one might come back, as you said, on a very distant star. Is that right?
That's correct, sir. I can only suggest, and it's probably dangerous in a very brief period of time, to say that there is out there an essence of which we have been born, whether one chooses to call it God or some other title. I'd leave that to the individual. But I can only suggest that we choose, and in our workshops we talk about Earth 101. We have chosen to experience life on this plane. Some of us choose to be males, some choose to be females, some choose to be doctors, lawyers, attorneys. I mean, there are numerous things. But it is much like a university. We have chosen to be in this place to learn what we feel we need. Having completed that course, it may be necessary to repeat the course. It may be necessary, having been a male doctor, to return and now become a female doctor. I don't believe punishment has anything to do with it, karma that has turned against us. I think it is a learning process that we do have a connection far out there, and this is our learning process. This is our Earth 101, and perhaps at some point the only way that we can understand peace or wisdom or awareness is if in fact we live and taste a life where there is madness, where there is chaos, where we are in fact murderers and rapists and cruel, vicious beings. Perhaps some of us actually need to experience that in order to learn. So,
well, the taste is certainly strong in my mouth. Hold on just one moment. Robert Morning Sky, we are honored to have him as a guest, a Native American of the Hopi Nation. We'll take more calls in a moment.
Or Central Illinois, partly.
Amendment. I wish I didn't have to hear all this baloney. But I hope you get something out of this program, and I'm glad you called.
Can I ask you one more thing?
Yeah, sure.
It's this idea of what is time. Couldn't it simply be described as a form of knowing?
Yes, or perhaps consciousness is the perception of time. Doctor?
Yes, definitely. I think that time is a layer of consciousness. It's a degree of consciousness. And since I feel here all about learning in some way or another, we are here, in fact, to learn about time as well.
Oh, good answer. First time caller line, you're on the air with Dr. Snow. Hi.
Hi, Art. This is Carrie from Monterey, California.
Monterey, beautiful place, yes.
Very much so. Doctor, when one has what one would call deja vu, those moments where you think, I have seen this before, or even moments where you can consciously remember seeing something that you know is going to happen and then it does shortly in your life. Is that a part of future progression?
Yes, it is. Or the deja vu often is in a sense, a past experience coming back, an echo of somewhere you may have been already, and you recognize it again. The kind of precognition, which is the second form, frequently comes when your mind, which at different levels of consciousness can go outside of linear time, shoots forward to present to you an event or a feeling, an emotion, or sometimes even a face of an individual that will be an important player in your learning process in your life.
Okay, so
you see them that way.
So then we generally should look upon that as something that we should think about. And
I think it's something that you ought to take into consideration. I wouldn't change everything because you had such an experience, because sometimes the mind plays tricks on us. But I do feel that, yes, in general, it is certainly a warning.